Commission 3 years ago. Through an executive order, Ruto appointed judges Korir Weldon, Mchelele Agri, Odunga George and Joel Mwaura Ngugi moments after his swearing in. The president also appointed 2 other judges of the Environment and Land Court.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission, and I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
Fuel prices could hit a historic high after today's monthly review of prices, as President William Ruto vowed yesterday to end the subsidy that has kept prices stable since July. During his inauguration at the Kasarani Stadium yesterday, President Ruto hinted that he would do away with subsidies on fuel and food, arguing that they are a huge burden to the exchequer and often lead to product shortages.
If the subsidy continues to the end of the financial year, it will cost taxpayers 280 billion, equivalent to the entire national government development budget. In addition to being very costly, consumption subsidy interventions are prone to abuse. They distort markets and create uncertainty, including artificial shortages of the very products they seek to subsidize.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is today expected to announce new fuel prices to be in place for the next month. Now, President Ruto yesterday awarded former President Uhuru Kenyatta by appointing him to chair peace initiative meetings in the country. Ruto said that Uhuru had so far done a good job in championing for peace.
On the peace initiatives in our region, including both in Ethiopia and in the Great Lakes region, I have asked my elder brother, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has done commendable engagement with those regions, and he has graciously agreed to continue chairing those discussions on behalf of the people of Kenya. I have committed that the government of Kenya, and myself in particular, will support those initiatives that will be chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni yesterday thanked former President Uhuru Kenyatta for leading the country for the past 10 years. Yoweri further stated that it was time countries create wealth through employment opportunities.
According to my experience of 60 years, I would advise Africans to know that prosperity comes from wealth creation, and wealth is not the same as natural resources. The wealth means commercial agriculture, manufacturing, services like hotels and ICT.
Burundi President Evariste Ndayishimiye on his part said they would continue working together.
Na ninaweza kukuhakikishia mheshimiwa ya kwamba undugu kati ya Wakenya na Warundi utaendelea kusimama imara, na undugu nilioufurahia mheshimiwa Uhuru utaendelea kwako ndugu Ruto. Ningependa tena kutoa pongezi kwa ndugu yangu mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta.
Tanzania President Samia Suluhu on her part congratulated Kenyans for their political maturity.
Tunamshukuru na kumpongeza sana Mheshimiwa Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta kwa kumaliza vyema kuitumikia nchi yake na kuitumikia kwa mafanikio makubwa. Hongera sana. Ndugu zangu wa Kenya, tunawapongeza nyinyi kwa kuonesha ukomavu wa demokrasia na kumaliza uchaguzi salama, na leo tuko hapa pamoja kama Wakenya na wa East Africa tunashangilia uapisho wa rais wetu mpya.
That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well, but Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
All right, good morning. It's the middle of the week and it looks like traffic is going to build up today. We know that yesterday was a good day in terms of not getting stuck anywhere. It may not be the same way today. Starting early this morning at a few minutes after 6 o'clock, traffic is not doing the thing just yet, but we're likely to see it pick up. Everybody's going back to school, going back to work, stomp the yard and things like that. Coming on Jogo Road, we're already seeing a build-up going towards Landis, and the CBD is starting to pack up. It's also doing the same thing on the Thika Superhighway. But we'll keep an eye on things and see what they turn out to be in a few. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
The only way to start
the
your day.
only way to start your day.
It's what? It's 10 minutes after 6 o'clock. 8 minutes after 6. I've just given you some extra 2 minutes there. Good morning and welcome to the day after Kenya has gotten a new president. The inauguration of President William Samoei Ruto happened yesterday. And it's been described as many things. So good morning and welcome to today. We're smack in the middle of the week, today being Wednesday. It is the 14th, Abby? 14th. It's that day that we're likely to see fuel prices do the thing. And we'll see. It probably has already done the thing. How are you this morning? I can see you guys waking up here and there. And I'm with a gentleman this morning who's, settling in after having greeted the people. And he's here to bid you good morning as well. Eric, good morning.
Me, good morning is good. Yes. And you, good morning?
My good morning is good morninging.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Lala salama?
Kabisa.
Ulikuwa na siku njema jana.
Nimelala tu sijui 2 hours.
Kwa nini?
Nilikuwa chivumbi.
It's true.
Nilikuwa chivumbi.
Chivumbi
KTN chivumbi.
KTN channel chivumbi 2022.
Yeah.
Telling you. Well done.
Yes. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Uliona hotuba ya rais na makamu wake?
What is hotuba?
Speech ile.
Oh, speech. Ungesema speech.
Uliona?
Hotuba. What did you say? Hotuba.
Yeah.
Is speech.
Hotuba ni speech.
You learn something new every day.
Ndio hiyo sasa umelani ile new.
Ile new nimelani leo. Yes, niliona. Niliona mengi.
Mengi?
Yay.
Mengi yamesemwa. Mengi yakatendwa. New president has taken office. And immediately got into working.
Yep. As he said he would.
Immediate. This afternoon, and this afternoon happened. He's basically signaling, all right, this is how to go. That is keeping that bar right up there.
Indeed.
In terms of expectations.
I like many things that he said. I think everything else, above it all, I think I've got to commend the manner in which he was gracious in extension, especially to Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think that was good. Coming off the back of the previous speech, was a bit of a, catastrophe.
The Naibu.
The Naibu speech was a bit of a catastrophe.
Where?
But it was, I think that...
Naibu just came out with all the guns. At a 21 gun salute.
45.
What? I have
45. But I think I was highly appreciative of what the president did with his speech thereafter. And obviously it was more sober, but I think it was an honest speech. I think that he did a lot in terms of saying what he wanted to do, but I think he was gracious in his extension to President Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think he did that well in terms of, thanking him for what he has done. At the same time, extending how he hopes to work with him in the future.
Let me tell
Many people will say alikuwa nampaka siagi sawa, but it looked good. If optics are anything, the optics show was fantastic.
We will discuss it.
We will talk about it.
Yes.
Sawa.
Let's talk about what's going to be the topics of discussion today. At 7 o'clock, let's discuss pursuing master's or doctoral programs in intelligent and mechanical interaction systems and computer science in Japan.
Say in English.
Kama unataka kujua mambo intelligent na computer, enda Japan.
Okay,
so if you want to go to Japan, you can study programs in master's or doctoral programs in intelligent and mechanical interaction systems. It's basically just talking about AI, right? And the new advances on that front, and computer science, going to Japan. Faculty of Engineering, Information and Systems at the University of Tsukuba. And we'll be joined by two people from the University of Tsukuba, both of them assistant professors, Professor Modar Hassan and Professor Klaus Arana. Remember, Japan is offering, these Japanese universities, University of Tsukuba and others are offering English programs.
Yes.
For undergrad, postgrad programs. Now, today we're basically focusing on the postgrad, on graduate programs. And we'll be talking about, so what are the entry requirements, what are the opportunities for you to go and study in Japan, and then thereafter, should you wish to live and work in Japan, how possible is it? That's 7 to 8. At 8 o'clock, we look at what to expect from the Ruto presidency. Dr. Barak Muluka, who's a strategic communications advisor, will be joining us at 8 a.m. to have that conversation. At 9 a.m., we'll have a conversation with a Ruto insider. Elio Dowalo is an economist and a UDA Deputy Secretary General in charge of policy and strategy, among those who are called the A-team in the Ruto campaign, who were working on the plans and all. He'll come and tell us what is Ruto government's focus for the first 100 days. Appointment of judges, done. You know, like that chef, the rugby player. What's his name? Chef, done. Appointment of judges, done. Cheap fertilizer, done. Serve hot,
done. Enjoy with friends. It's interesting because and he said, I myself will see it. I mean, let's fit what. It's interesting because what's stopping you? Let's move next, get it out of the way, and then now let's focus on these other things.
You already like this president, don't you?
I like the way in which he started. My hope, and it is springing eternal, is that the follow-through
will be followed.
In basketball, you say the follow-through is what makes the shot. And I am hoping that the follow-through will be existent.
Yes. We will be here reminding him where he needs to follow through. Hiya, tell us about COVID.
Let me tell you about COVID. Let's look at global numbers. Still at 614,714,581. That's what it looks like around the world. And if you look at two stories that, front and center with COVID, the latest headache for most workplaces post-COVID, this is covered in the Business Daily. And it's saying that if you're experiencing the impact and manifestation of quiet quitting of jobs, employees chose to exit organizations that experience what they're calling the great resignation of the COVID-19 pandemic. And individuals chose to take the minimum they could get. If it was a job, not what you used to have. If it was a job at the very barest minimum, you would take it. People are working from home. There are companies who never resumed in-person work. There are companies who said, look, okay, it's possible for us to have this kind of remote working environment. Let's just keep it at that. Unless absolutely necessary, then we won't do this. But was it a good idea? Some people are now doing their jobs based on hours. Others are saying, okay, well, you can sit and you can work for even longer hours while at home and doing other things. And the conversation is now front and center yet again, that it is actually a good idea to rethink workplace constructs. It is important to say, look, is it possible that you can work now really from wherever you are? Can you be in Nairobi and produce for Doha? Mm-hmm. Can you be, in Lagos and produce for New York? It really brought about a different kind of thinking, and it looks like that is the way in which the world is going. But I do not have to see your face and a group of worker bees to realize that work is being done. 17 million people in the World Health Organization European region have experienced long COVID in the first 2 years of the pandemic. This means they continually tested positive for COVID, and millions may have to live with it for years to come. Live with COVID for years. You test, you're tested positive. You have a few breathing problems here and there, a little bit of fever. The questions are being asked by the World Health Organization as to why long COVID continues to be an issue. Even after treatment, why do we have so many people still remaining, quote unquote, sick for such a long period of time? Many people in the region straddling Europe and Central Asia are suffering debilitating symptoms many months after the initial COVID-19 infection. They cannot continue to suffer in silence. Governments and health partners must collaborate to find solutions based on research and evidence. So they're saying, look, the research initially has been based on vaccines, treatment. Now we are looking at this long COVID. Millions of people is too much to not do something about it in terms of research. So the World Health Organization is calling on its partner countries to do something about this.
All right. Oh, by the way, CT...
I was just going to say, people are asking where CT is.
CT has decided to take a chill pill, go and work on his motogari that he's going to be taking to the Conco Delegons, the Africa Conco Delegons, on the 25th of September at the Nairobi racecourse, where we'll all be there. So he's taking some time off to chill, because that day is going to be a busy day.
I know.
And, limelight. And then his name will be all over the world in the news that his car has won. The Golden Jubilee of the African Conco Delegons. So he's taking some time off.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the honor of doing the proverb falls on me. So let me look for the proverb as you do the weather. Okay. 19 minutes after 6.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, this resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question why did you do this and that and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Sylvanus Maritim, hapa ni Inauguration.
Sylvanus Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma namwambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, cloudy conditions is what we're looking at in Nairobi at 15, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 22 and a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 15. It's 15 and raining in Nyeri, highs of 20 and lows of 13, and we'll see highs of 21 in a clear Eldoret at 14. Partly cloudy conditions at 22 in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a rainy Malindi at 24. It's 19 and mostly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 27, and lows of 18, and it's 16 and cloudy in Kakamega. It'll go to highs of 26 and lows of 15. All right, looking into Kampala, it's mostly clear at 19, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 30 in Dar es Salaam, where it's partly cloudy at 21. 10 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 9, and Lagos is mostly clear at 24. We'll see highs of 30. 33 will be the high in a clear Kinshasa at 22, and that will be today's low. Let's look out into Beijing afternoon Wednesday. It's sunny at 29, highs of 31 and lows of 18, and cloudy and thunderstorms expected in Paris, highs of 26 and lows of 17. 15 degrees and light rain in London, highs of 22 and lows of 13. And we're looking into New York, where it's still Tuesday night. It's clear, however, at 23. It'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 17.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Yes, 22 minutes after 6. Good morning. Who is online this morning?
Everybody seems to be awake today. From Kikambura in Kikuyu, Revetwa, Kenya says, good morning, guys. We have our president, and this is where you're listening in from. Good morning to you. Chris says, good morning to you all from Doha. Ndu, please check a tenor.
Check a tenor. Just come on. There
okay.
You go. Made his day.
I've made his day. Well, there you go. Excuse me. Greetings from Arizona. That's where Twitter MCA is, and says, WSR has Rutonated in Kenya. All right. We're feeling the tremors in the diaspora. Wishing the new president success in all his endeavors as he leads the country through these challenging times. Indeed, day 1 of 100, says Ken Wesh. And yesterday, day 0, the president started working by appointing the rejected judges. Kudos to him. All right. Locked in from Kisumu is where Jonathan Nyinya is this morning. Masesa Tom Zebido tuned in from Nanyuki and says day 1 has already started. Indeed, it has. Good morning. Kisumu locked loud and clear. Seatbelt fastened as flight 005254 takes off. Indeed. George Momanyi is talking about a young man with white hair. This is a quote from M7 yesterday when he talked about Kenya's 5th president, indeed. And President Museveni says he watches Chivumbi, and he mentioned Latif in his description. Okay, Eric.
I am not the young man.
You're not the young man with the white hair all over his head. It's not you?
No.
Okay.
We have a sense of who it is we're trying to establish. Yeah.
Trying to establish?
Yeah.
Nisawa.
Going through all the Chivumbis.
See which young man
who has grey hair? Who? And he's talking about the economy.
All right. Tuned in from Kolwen in Nyakach sub-county. That's Claire Fasanam says good morning. Ballistic, good morning. Jeffrey Mochama says good morning. He's tuning from Kibos. And Ashley, good morning to you too. Odhiambo, good to know that your good morning is good morninging. Newton, we see you as well. Mwangi, Changamwe, well represented. Vincent Ogutu, Alex, Margaret, tuned in this morning. We see all of you, quite a number of you online this morning. Paul Mugo, Robert Ibogo, Zeresh Munyama, Collins, Linda. Wow, everybody's online this morning. I see you even if I don't get to you. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. City. Yes. Today's proverb. Right. Today's proverb. We are leaving Chad. We are going up north to Egypt.
Voila.
Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Ancient Egyptian proverb. You get it?
I get it.
You get it?
If I don't?
If you don't get it, get about it.
Got it. I got it.
You get it?
Yeah.
Yes. The end justifies the what?
Means, please.
Yes. Or is it the yes?
The end justifies the
The
means.
end justifies the means. Hiya.
Hiya.
If you buy a copy of your Standard today, you will see very many stories and very many beautiful photos from yesterday's celebrations at Kasarani Stadium. And if you also just peruse through the pages, you will see a QR code. Please scan that QR code for a chance to win some good goodies from the Good Standard. You will get either some branded merchandise or some cash vouchers or some shopping vouchers. Just buy your Standard from your nearest vendor. Look for the QR code, scan it. The other thing that it does is that it also gives you access now to our online version of the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's on the front pages?
On the front page of the Standard, the president's thunder. The ink had barely dried on his oath when Kenya's fifth president, William Ruto, made a raft of pronouncements upsetting the exiting administration. DP Rigathi Gachagua narrated their frustrations before international guests, promising new freedoms for all. But beyond the rhetoric, the hard work begins. That's what's on the front page of the Standard. Ruto takes over is what's on the Nation. As Uhuru exits, his successor pledges new order. He takes over from Uhuru Kenyatta as the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya in a colourful ceremony at the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani, attended by more than 20 African heads of state. With the symbolic transfer of the instruments of power, the president takes leadership of a nation in the throes of an economic meltdown characterized by high food and commodity prices, a huge public debt, and an ever-widening tax deficit hole. The campaign's over. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Hey. Yeah? Big one. The president's thunder. So, some of the president's first actions is highlighted on the front page of the Standard today. He appointed 6 judges who were rejected by President Uhuru Kenyatta, plus 2 new judges of the Environment and Land Court. Those judges are already gazetted, and the president says he will witness their swearing in to office today. Revert the clearing of all goods and other operations to the port of Mombasa. Establish an education reform task force to collect views on CBC implementation. Grant police service autonomy by transferring budget to the Inspector General. The other thing also is he has pledged to increase the judiciary's budget by 3 billion shillings incrementally every year. For the next how many years?
5.
Was it 5 or 3?
Gotcha.
Some years to come.
Yes.
Higher. So every year the judiciary's budget goes up by 3 billion, 3 billion, 3 billion, 3 billion. That means don't even bother bringing your budget. See, whatever you received last year, whatever you got last year, we give you 3 billion
on
more.
top.
Sheesh. Provide 1.4 million bags of fertilizer at a reduced cost of 3,500 per 50 kilogram bag. Establish the Hustler Fund and a Ministry of Cooperatives for small enterprises. He has pledged to work on a new credit score rating to eliminate CRB blacklisting of creditors. You know, if he's actually going to do this, where we are talking about not just blacklisting people, but giving you a credit score, and that credit score can also work in your favor when you're going to borrow, are a good thing.
Absolutely, because the thing is,
if you have a good credit score, what's the use of having a good credit score? You were saying?
Look, I think what it does is it opens the door for negotiation, isn't it? To say, look, and also explanation. because a lot of people who have been blacklisted, there leaves no room for explanation. There leaves no room for you to come and say, okay, Eric, this is actually what had happened. And you'll find that the reasons why somebody may have defaulted are not the same across board, right? I think that's what it does.
But the result was the default across board.
Yeah, sure. But you see, I think that's the thing, that people you have this blanket put across everybody.
Yeah.
And now if you can negotiate, you're basically saying, okay, fine, rate me lower, but at least allow some wiggle room for me to still have access to credit.
Look at my history.
Yeah.
If this is the first time I'm defaulting, don't put me in the same category as somebody who's a serial defaulter.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, if I've never defaulted before, I'm only defaulting for the first time, then you knock off my points by 1 or 0.1.
Exactly.
If I default again within the period of 6 months, blah, 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 like that. And then if I have a positive credit score, I go to any lender and that should count for something.
For something, indeed.
Yeah.
I think this is a good thing.
Right. Let's see. Having a conversation with the Central Bank of Kenya and those stringent checks on transactions above 1 million shillings. Now, this one is going to be an interesting one because the doctor, Njoroge at the Central Bank of Kenya says, look, we've got a law in place. We've got international obligations. The reason why we have all these things is because of money laundering, fears of money laundering. Now, if you don't check, if you just say let capital flow,
let people do
business. Wacha pesa itembee. What's your problem? Okay, so, but also on the other hand, it could also be a good thing. Wacha pesa itembee, bwana. What is the problem? Kuna pesa yako imepotea, enda police.
Ita
police. Expedite the payment of 600 billion shillings pending bills. Now, this expediting story has been there for how many years? Have we finished the fingers on one hand?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the other one.
We're about 9 plus years. Yeah.
600 billion shillings. Do you know how much that is? That is almost twice the amount that goes to all the counties in a year. 600 billion shillings owed to people, not owed
people
to people
who did business,
people who delivered
for the government, and they did what they were supposed to have done.
They delivered, and the government owes them 600 billion shillings. This is criminal. Accelerate transfer of outstanding functions and resources to counties. Right.
This should be fun.
Some of these things. Like they have said, I know there's a lot of expectation and a lot of hope. All of us actually are really, rooting for the government. We want President William Ruto and his government to deliver because it makes it better for us.
Absolutely.
But we also want him to come and tell us, okay, so when you pledge this, keep giving us the updates.
How are you going to do it?
Yes, and how are you going to do it? Let's take a quick break, shall we? 27 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, which also is a friend of Showmax that has very many shows, including County 47.
9.
It's 49?
It's 49.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's why it makes it so much more interesting. Tomorrow, another episode drops. I think it's going to be episode 4. And looking at now the intrigues as things continue to happen within the county. They don't have a new leader yet. They might consider, allowing those who are the new ones to come back. But that's if the person agrees to do what they said they would. So let's see. The intrigues of County 49. It's a fictional county in Kenya's breadbasket called Bwatele. And let's see how that unfolds over the next coming weeks. That and other great programming available on Showmax for as little as 760 shillings per month. And you unlock access to great programming.
When you think about education hubs, Japan has long been at the list of preferred destinations to provide world-class programs. The Study in Japan Global Network Project and Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology in Japan are hosting an online event for students and professionals looking to further their education and join master's and PhD programs in social sciences such as internal public policy and conflict studies, economics and management, and sciences such as information technology, environmental sciences, sciences, biomedical science, agriculture, engineering, and veterinary medicine. Join the Study in Japan online fair for Sub-Saharan Africa 2022 on the 30th of September and on the 1st of October by registering on 2022.studyinjapan-africa-portal.com. Don't miss out.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice!
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me.
Nairobi.
Okay, so we're looking at a little bit of traffic building up in different parts of the city this morning. A little bit on Lunga Lunga. Actually, Jogoo Road is not a little bit. It's quite some. Inbound traffic is really heavy as you're going out towards Landis, which until you get to the mouth of that Kamkunji roundabout is not looking too bad. But you get to Kamkunji and you're going to have to contend with some traffic that's already building up this morning. At the junction of Outer Ring and then out towards the Drift and then through to the Pangani underpass on the Thika Superhighway, that is already looking pretty busy and we're seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way out into the CBD. The CBD. We're going to come out of Westlands with some issues today, and we can already see that brewing and building up. James Gishuru is already starting to pile up as you're getting towards that junction and then going out towards Waiyaki Way. It's going to be a busy Wednesday. Boots up, folks. Let's see what's going on where you are. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So, I think in addition to the things that are being promised, this is, and interestingly, some of these things are in the manifesto. Some of them just seem to be, taking a life of their own.
Like?
Port cargo decree met with cheers. Dr. William Ruto will make his first official tour as the 5th president to the coast this week after ordering that all, not some, all cargo clearance be reverted to the Mombasa port. Was it in his manifesto? The declaration made
yesterday. It was in the Mombasa Charter.
Okay.
County Charter.
He seemed to be serious about this because he said people who had lost business, that you're seeing your container trucks not being able to move, you've lost business in an instant. We're going to do what? Return it in a what? Instant. The declaration made yesterday was received warmly by stakeholders who thanked him for honouring his campaign promise. Transfer of port services from Mombasa to the Nairobi and Naivasha inland container depots was a hot topic in the presidential campaigns in Mombasa and Nakuru counties. Leaders from Mombasa have been supporting the return of port operations to the coastal city as the Nakuru counterparts push for even more investments in the Naivasha ICD. I will be issuing instructions for clearing of goods and other attendant operational issues to revert to Mombasa Port as I made a commitment to Kenyans. This will restore thousands of jobs in the city of Mombasa, according to the new president. Port stakeholders have welcomed the head of state's decree, saying the move will revive the economy. The Kenya International Forwarding and Warehousing Association chairman Roy Mwanthi said they expect booming business since it won't be mandatory to move cargo via the Standard Gauge Railway. Remember, all the trucks kind of had to give it up. They would not travel anymore from Mombasa into the country and then out towards Uganda, Busia, because, what was the point? You're going to stop in Nairobi, you're going to stop in Naivasha, unless you're going to find your way to Naivasha and then carry on from there. So they're very happy that they'll now be able to get back on the road. Thousands of people, he said, have lost their jobs after the government made it mandatory to ferry all goods to Nairobi and via the railway. And so coming back will be a good thing for them.
So I really need to understand what this means, right?
Okay.
So transfer port operations back to Mombasa, all right? Because those were still port operations, whether they're operating in the dry port of Nairobi and Malindi and the other place, Naivasha. So what does this mean? Is it saying that you clear your goods at the port and then you choose whether you want to use road or you want to use rail? Now, what's the impact of having rail, trucks on the road?
What's the impact on the road?
Yes. What's the impact of having all those many trucks on the roads? So there's jobs, yes. There's, all those towns, and you'll get the trailer parks, and it'll be good business, sour. But what's the impact on the road? Number two, what's the impact on, logistics? But that's a choice for the
It's
importer.
a choice for the operator.
For the importer to have, right? What's the impact that is going to have on the incomes of the SGR and the SGR operator vis-a-vis the loan that we are repaying, whose money should come from operations of the railway?
I hear what you're saying. Look, loan payments were guaranteed by frequent and increased usage of the SGR.
Yes.
And you will see that there will be significantly more traffic on the SGR because you have the clearance of goods then happening. And there was the guarantee that they would get on the rail from Mombasa to Naivasha, and then you clear from Naivasha or clear in Nairobi, whatever. When you reintroduce the option of using the road, then obviously what happens is that you reduce the activity on the rail, and then what does that do to the
Especially if
loans
the
that need
rail
to be paid?
is not competitively priced.
Exactly. If it's
Because
cheaper,
if
think
it's
about it.
cheaper-
If it's cheaper to put your stuff on a truck and it's going to take a couple of days to get to Naivasha or to get to Busia and then to Uganda, wherever, what do you think you're going to do? It's a cheaper option.
You go for the cheaper option.
Absolutely.
The cheaper, more efficient option. Because also sometimes cheap plus efficiency don't go hand in hand.
That's true.
You look for the cheaper, more efficient option. It's basically opening up the opportunities for everyone. It's a good thing for the Okoa Mombasa campaign, Khalef Khalifa, Wanjiru Gikonyo, and the others. There's also the other side of, with these nice, bold moves, is President William Ruto going to now publish the details of this SGR contract? Because that's one of the things that they've been pushing for. Let's know, what is it that we committed?
And then why was it so important? Because if there were, look, Eric, if something had been committed in terms of repayment on a certain loan, chances are 110% that the details of such are in this contract.
Yes.
And that is then why there was the insistence on, folks, we've got to use this thing. And we have to then insist that it doesn't matter who you are, small or big, you're bringing in stuff to the country through the port, you will have to use the SGR because that is the only way we can guarantee that there will be enough income for us to pay this loan. We do not know anything else that was within this documentation. It would be interesting, though, if the insistence of opening up the details of this contract then would be made mandatory as well.
Yep.
Because then you would really know what is Kenya in for. And then you would maybe understand, not accept, but at least understand why there was the insistence on the usage of the SGR.
It will be dicey because if indeed part of the clauses in that contract are do not make it public, then would it be a breach of contract when you make it public? Would you go and argue it's about the sovereignty of the people? I mean, we are giving it to the people. We are releasing it, not pasting it all over. We are releasing it to Parliament, which is the body representing the
to
people.
enable them to make decisions about what is going to happen coming in the future.
Yeah. This is one interesting one. And I hope that the next thing that President Ruto does is actually to address that.
Well,
so we have this, and now let's talk about the contracts. I'm going to release the contract. I'm going to make the debt register as public as
and
possible.
up to date.
Yeah.
He'll be there this week. So it'll be good to see what he says thereafter. But there's already jubilation. People are happy. People are oiling their trucks and fueling them again because they know, boss, I'm going to rock up Wednesday morning and say, oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm available.
CFSs are no longer
Bring
now.
it.
They have business coming.
Yes.
Higher. State subsidies to go as the president confronts price hikes headache. He undertook to tackle the prevailing high cost of living, even as he admitted that some state subsidies, including the fuel subsidy, may have to go. Dr. Ruto was sworn in against the backdrop of record prices in fuel, maize flour, and other basic commodities. Today is the 14th. Today is the day that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority does the thing that it should do to announce fresh fuel prices in its monthly review, with Kenyans staring at higher pump prices in the absence of a state subsidy that had hitherto helped keep prices from hitting record highs. So the president talked about this, and in his speech, he mentioned those two subsidies. He said there has been an ongoing fuel subsidy. And in fact, he said, look at how much money has been spent on this subsidy program. He says in just the last 4 months, 60 billion shillings has gone into this subsidy in just the last 4 months. Since it started, we have over 200 billion shillings going into this. This is almost like the entire budget of government's development budget. So if the entire government development budget is actually going into a subsidy, what are we talking about? However, this is not a subsidy. It's a levy. People pay a levy, contributing the levy into this subsidy, into this kitty, and then the kitty is used for price stabilization. This is going to be a very tough one. Because if he says, let us remove the price stabilization mechanism, which is what it is, prices shoot up immediately.
Yes.
50 bob, 60 bob. Immediately.
Hoping that the market will then...
Which market?
But
the local or global?
No, local.
The local market.
Local market. Hoping that as the market takes the hit, hoping then that you'll be able to then balance things out.
With?
Almost with itself, because you have nothing else. There's nothing to bump it up. This is my question. For a subsidy to then be deemed that it had worked, and then we see, okay, we've been able to balance things for the meantime, and then you've been able to regulate so that folks can now get a footing, then removing it. You must then have seen the benefit achieved by said subsidy, right? Let's take the two examples of fuel. That the first one, fuel, the subsidy had been applied, yes? Or what you're calling the mechanization had been applied. But then we still had the imbalance in the market whereby those who should have received this money unfortunately didn't. Okay? We also see the same thing happening with the maize flour, because at the end of the day, did people across board receive maize?
Did consumers access
for 100 shillings? One.
Maize?
Those
Did
who
the
are
millers-
providing, the millers, did they receive the money that was going to enable them provide this cheaper flour? If you are able to say yes on both sides, then the introduction of subsidy worked. If you say no, then all the more reason why are we applying the subsidy? 6 billion. Why are we applying these subsidies if they're not working?
I think I separate the two issues. One, there's an issue of subsidy working. There's an issue of, is there an impact in stabilizing the fuel prices at the pump? And I'd say there's an impact. There's an impact in that it's affordable to many. Although you're still paying the 5 shillings and 40 cents extra to at the pump, but it's 5 shillings and 40 cents that you're paying, and not a higher 7 bob or something like that. Now, have the oil marketing companies received the money that they ought to? No, they are owed some 60 billion shillings
This
today.
is it.
That is fiscal indiscipline at the National Treasury. Nothing to do with a subsidy working or not. Have the maize millers received? That is about fiscal indiscipline. If Ukuriatani and his people cannot find money to release, and yet they are collecting it, that is them.
Or if if a subsidy was introduced for a different outcome. If a subsidy was introduced to actually make it easier for the general population to purchase said good, all right, and you can see that people are actually purchasing across board for this lower price, fine. But if somewhere in between here this thing doesn't land, then you have to ask the question that what was the original plan behind the subsidy? Was it really to introduce this lower price into the market? If it didn't happen, then you can say there was no need for it.
For the maize, I think maize is up there in the air. Because then you would have to look at, did you actually release the maize? Was the maize available in the shops? Was the maize available to consumers? Did consumers buy maize?
For fuel, absolutely. That
For
people
fuel,
can purchase
you can
fuel
see.
at a lower price, yes.
And
Than what it is meant to be, because you can see it should have been 200 shillings, but because of the application of this subsidy, people are able to buy it for 160, for example.
Yes.
Yes.
So now I think the balancing and tricky part here would be if the president orders IPRA to don't apply the the stabilization mechanism today, the price shoots up straight beyond 200 shillings. Is that the first thing that you want to do as president?
No.
Because the other thing that you've promised here, fertilizer is in the next couple of weeks when farmers are going to be able to access fertilizer.
They'll buy it at 3,500, yes.
3,500, all right? But before then, prices of everything shoots up. Is that one thing that I don't think...
I don't think that's the water you want to enter into.
I don't think he's gonna affect that this time.
No.
He may, take a couple of this month into next month, maybe into December, and then start reducing. So you've been stabilizing it at this much, just start reducing the amount of money that you're putting into the stabilization. Because we're still not at getting 100% stabilization. They still say, okay, so you'll pay 3 bob and then we'll pay 5 bob. Now maybe he'll say, you pay 5 bob, then I'll pay 3 bob. Probably. But there's still going to be, I think, a price stabilization mechanism put here.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so one other sector that was very clear about that also got some cheers yesterday was the education sector. There have been cries in terms of regulation of the CBC. Look, during the campaign, he did say, and that was clear, that, we've got to get rid of the CBC, it's not working. He then later came back again during the campaigns and said, all right, so maybe what we ought to do is look at a middle ground. How can we incorporate a new system of education, which clearly needed to have a whole approach towards education as opposed to reading to pass exams kind of thing. Yesterday, he said, task force. There are those magic words again. We're going to put a task force that will bring about what? Public participation. Because public participation did not take place in order for this new curriculum to be established. I can hear the cry of parents, he said. I can hear that you're not all right with this. We also know that the system is not able to take the pressure that this curriculum requires, that it demands. There is the new CBC class that will start in January.
Yeah.
There is Form 1s that will be going to class in January. Standard 8s will be going to Form 1. The last Standard 8s are the ones going to Form 1 next. Are starting next year. So many things are happening at the same time. Is there a middle ground that we can reach? And I think this is what he was saying yesterday. Is there some kind of middle ground that we can reach? And that is probably what we're going to do. I can bet you that what is going to happen is that CBC, as it was originally designed and introduced and starting to be implemented, is not going to be the same thing that we will practice in January 2023.
What kind of changes do you see?
I see that there will be probably a reduction on the impact that it has on these extra projects, for example. I think that there will be more parent participation in terms of what will be done. The pressure that is on schools right now also might be...
So like what? Like practically what are you saying? So there's a CBC that's ongoing now. It's under implementation. A couple of years down the road, what do you see changing? That the grade 6s will not join from junior secondary? That will happen.
I think that will happen.
The standard 8s will continue?
I'm talking in terms of hands-on practice.
Like?
There are certain schools around the country, for example, who are asked to provide, or children and parents asked to provide certain material that they just don't have access to.
Okay. But that has been explained before. I mean, it's just about the teachers in those schools understanding. You don't have to tell everyone, go bring a donkey if you don't have a donkey. If you're living in urban areas, or if you don't have a horse nearby, you don't have to talk about horse. It's about the application by the teachers. I see something here, in my opinion. I see that whole conversation of, he promised to do something, but up to now he still doesn't know what it is, and that's why he's pushing it to public participation. He's basically bringing he's bringing it back to you. You guys will talk about it. When you don't want to do something, form a task force.
I don't think that they will scrap the whole CBC. That is not going to happen.
Nope.
I think that, if anything, they may, even as you say it now, I may be thinking and restructuring my thoughts a little bit more, that there probably will be an atmosphere where people will be placated to make it seem as though, well, it's all right, guys, you're part of this process, but we're just going to continue what
So
we're
he'll
doing.
implement a couple of things here and there, tweak this, tweak the other, look at...
But I don't see him overturning a system that has been in practice for the last almost 5 years. It is not going to happen. Mind you, 10,000 schools, I think they are near completion. Classrooms, 10,000 extra classrooms have been constructed in the last 6 months. That's not going to be tossed out the window. The system that publishers have written new books over the last 4 years. Publishers have put new books into the system. Schools have started to build additional facilities. It's not going to be chucked. I think there will be a semblance of participation by the wider public, including parents. But if you ask me, that's just as far as it will go.
I think this is what it is. It's just opening up an avenue for people to ventilate, and then we continue. So you'll have this task force. The task force will go around the country meeting, just like the BBI thing. Go meet across and come with a report, and then the report will be the same thing that, what's her name, Fatuma? Fatuma who?
Shege.
Fatuma Shege, yes. Same thing that Fatuma Shege and her team did. Went around the country, and then they came up with a report. I think this one is what Ruto sat and listened to the teachers. He knew parents, this would be a sweetener for the parents, talk about it, and just throw it out there. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to form a task force. And then this task force will go and review this thing. And then it'll be all about, and he insisted on the word public participation so many times on this particular one issue.
That's going to be it.
Yeah, this is
participated.
Just
That's
go
it.
talk.
What
do you guys
finish,
want?
come and tell me.
Yeah. Let's move on. There will be no public participation on how KRA collects your taxes. The president, whenever the name Ruto is in my head, I've got to remove the word deputy from it.
Yes.
The president has said that he'd like all of us to contribute to taxes. It's basically the same mantra that Mwai Kibaki came up with, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee. And he was very clear, all of us have got to contribute into this kitty. But then there's what his deputy said, which is signaling changes at the KRA. The Kenya Revenue Authority will end its controversial raids on tax cheats under the new administration. President Ruto said yesterday that the taxation system will be reformed to ensure fairness and equity. Ruto said all potential taxpayers will be brought on board as the new administration moves to expand the tax base and boost compliance. He said, we'll make KRA more professional, efficient, responsive, and people-friendly. Signaling that KRA is faced with an overhaul, his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, had earlier said, this tax agency will end its aggressive actions in enhancing compliance. We want a good working environment where we don't criminalize enterprise. The new policy announcement comes amid an aggressive pursuit of suspected tax cheats by KRA. So how is it going to be? I think we're going to see some, change of leadership at KRA, maybe some change in operations at KRA. But this is an organization. You're coming up to an institution that has surpassed its target.
They have. Do you remember it was a couple of years ago, and it was this, foreboding amount of 1.6 trillion, and how are they ever going to do it? But here we are, and they did it.
Yep.
They did it.
They surpassed their target for the last year with 200 billion shillings. So when you come and say, you'd stop doing that.
Why would you do that?
Mr. President, you need money.
And this what they collected is from a system that is still highly informal. Now imagine if it was formalized. What would they be able to do?
This, Mr. President, you need money. You're saying you don't want to continue borrowing and all. That means you
can get it.
Locally generated revenue. Let's see what he does with KRA. This will be an interesting one. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We talk about going to pursue your master's and doctoral programs in Japan, especially in the intelligent and mechanical interaction systems and computer science in Japan. 2 people from the University of Sukuma in Japan will be joining us. I can see Yego is already asking, my question, what's the process of applying for a course in this university and the qualifications? Secondly, who's eligible to study in these programs? These and more questions will be answered by our guests in the next hour. Very good morning to you. It's 7 a.m.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I am Stephanie Wangari. Fuel prices could hit a historic high after today's monthly review of prices as President William Ruto vowed yesterday to end the subsidy that has kept prices stable since July. During his inauguration at the Kasarani Stadium yesterday, President Ruto hinted that he would do away with subsidies on fuel and food, arguing that they are a huge burden to the exchequer and often lead to product shortages.
If the subsidy continues to the end of the financial year, it will cost taxpayers 280 billion, equivalent to the entire national government development budget. In addition to being very costly, consumption subsidy interventions are prone to abuse. They distort markets and create uncertainty, including artificial shortages of the very products they seek to subsidize.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is today expected to announce new fuel prices to be in place for the next month. President William Ruto will oversee the swearing-in of 6 judges appointed by the Judicial Service Commission 3 years ago. Through an executive order, Ruto appointed judges Korir Weldon, Muchelule Agri, Odunge George and Joel Mwaura Ngugi moments after his swearing-in. The president also appointed 2 other judges of the Environment and Land Court.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission. And I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
Kenyans will now have a chance to give their opinions on the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. This is after President William Ruto said he would create a task force that would collect views from all players in line with the constitutional demands of public participation.
I will establish an education reform task force in the presidency, which will be launched in the coming weeks. It will collect views from all players in line with the constitutional demand of public participation. And we are particularly alive to the anxieties of parents on the twin transition of the last 844 class and the first CBC class in January next year. I assure all that there will be a solution to the matter before then.
There have been calls from a section of parents across the country for the new government to abolish the CBC and revert it to the 844 system. The parents have complained that the CBC is overloading learners and parents with a lot of assignments and expensive demands. The CBC is now at grade 6 and the Ministry of Education plans to roll out grade 7, the junior secondary school class, in January. Now, leaders from across the divide have continued to laud Kenyans on a smooth electoral process. Yesterday, Burundi President Evariste Ndayishimiye showered praises on Kenyans for a peaceful electoral process.
Nichukue tena fursa hii niwapongeze Wakenya wote kwa kufuata mioyo yao wakati wa kupiga kura na kuthibitisha kwa mara nyingine ukomavu wao wa hali ya juu na kuonyesha ulimwengu viwango vya demokrasia yao. Kenya imeshinda na mafanikio yenu ni kiburi ya Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Mumeshinda shetani ya vita. Hongereni sana.
That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
All right, we're getting into traffic hour proper at 5 minutes after 7 o'clock, and it looks like it's mostly on Mombasa Road today and a little bit of Ngong Road here and there. Jogo Road started pretty early, and we're looking at heavy bumper-to-bumper traffic on Jogo Road as well as Lunga. Coming out of Westlands, we're also seeing some traffic. We're looking at some coming off of the Thika Superhighway, which is really heavy from what we see right now. Inbound the city, it's doing that thing, as it is on Kiambu Road as well. Looks like it's going to be a busy morning. It's just past 7, and we're seeing that this has already started. Where are you? What's going on? Let us know what's kicking in your neck of the woods. Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter, and let's keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Good morning, and how are you doing?
The only way to start your day.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We're live on SpiceFM and online on YouTube and Facebook. From Nairobi to the world. C.T. Muga is away for a couple of days. We're saying he's taken a couple of days off to go and rejuvenate and also to work on his motogari because he has a vintage vehicle that he'll be showcasing at the Africa Concours de Lagons on the 25th of September at the Nairobi Racecourse. All roads are leading there. It's a fashion and whatever event. It's just motoring. People who are motorheads and people who are fashionistas.
And wannabes. Maybe.
Everybody.
Want to be a fashionista.
Yes.
Want to be a motorhead.
Everybody come there. So, I have the day's proverb. It's an ancient Egyptian proverb. Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Dr. Midori Daibon from Study in Japan, Africa. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Karibu sana kwenye kipindi cha leo.
Asante sana. Habari za asubuhi?
Salama kabisa.
Niko salama tu.
Yes. You've heard that proverb from Misri.
No, it's first time to hear that.
When you hear it, what do you have a similar proverb maybe in Japanese? Evil and good both operate to advance the great plan.
Sorry, I don't. Right now, I don't have it, but I think there is.
Yeah.
Also, yes.
What do you understand by this proverb?
Okay, sometimes there's a bad luck and good luck, and then but everything, you have to accept, and then you can still try to go on so that you will reach the goals. I don't know. That is, I got it.
So whether it's evil, whether it's positive, all of them are contributing to your life.
Yeah.
All of them are contributing to this person that you are, the life that you're living.
Yes, I believe so.
Indeed.
Good one. It's a good one. It's actually another
way to look at it.
Another good way to look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're here to talk about studying in Japan. We had this conversation as well last week.
Yes.
We'll be joined by two professors from the University of Tsukuba in Japan, from the Faculty of Engineering, Information and Systems, Assistant Professor Modar Hassan and Assistant Professor Klaus Aranha from Japan. They are both online. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
It must be afternoon there for you, though, but it's Nairobi. It's morning in Nairobi. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm super happy to be here to talk with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Professor Klaus. Professor Modar?
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. I'm very happy to be in your program.
Very well. Now, Dr. Midori, we talked about, people going to study from Kenya to Japan, especially for graduate programs, and particularly focusing on, areas of engineering, information and systems. And today we want to talk about, going to the University of Tsukuba. I want to understand, first of all, tell us about this university, Professor Klaus.
Yes. So the University of Tsukuba is one of the largest engineering universities in Japan. We have around 20,000 students. And one thing that is really cool about it is that about 10% of our students are actually international students from several places around the world. So we have a very international community here in our university.
Mm-hmm. Which part of Japan is it located in?
It's actually very close to Tokyo, about 1 hour by train north of Tokyo. It's isolated, so it's a small town, a very academic environment.
Okay. And Professor Mora, when you say that it's one of the largest universities, engineering universities in Japan, give us a bit of a background and history of this university. How old is the university? How big is the university? How many students are there in the university at present?
So actually, the university is around 140 years old. It's been 40 years in Tsukuba, the city in which we are in right now, but it's been 100 years more back in Tokyo when it was at a different name over there. And it has the largest single campus in all of Japan. We have an official ranking system of the universities. Tsukuba is among the top 10 in the country. Mm-hmm. We have, as Professor Klaus mentioned, we have over 20,000 students. 10% of them are international students. And actually, I was an international student here, so I studied here now. I'm working here.
Oh, that's actually an interesting one. Tell us about that journey, your journey as a student into a professor at university.
So I came to Japan in 2011, right after the big earthquake. There wasn't many people around here, but they started coming back soon after that. And I did a couple of master's degrees and a PhD, and then I worked for 5 years as a postdoctoral researcher, and eventually I became professor at my department.
Okay. What would you say? I mean, because here we are, and there are many students, maybe here on this side of the world and other places, who then would be interested in coming. What are the things that you would say come to this institution because it would offer you these things?
Is it for me or for Klaus?
I think for both of you.
That one of the biggest things that I get, so I'm originally from Brazil, and in Brazil it's very hard to be a scientist because of a lack of funds. Even if you have a great idea, it's very hard to get the resources to transform your idea into research. Mm-hmm. So this was one of the biggest differences that I felt when I came to Japan. It's easier as an international researcher to get resources to do your research here in Japan. Also, I feel that the environment here, everyone is having different ideas and supporting these research ideas. We had people, I walk around the university and I see students driving robots around or talking about their ideas that they want to execute. So I think that the environment here is very conducive to help people make their ideas reality.
Mm-hmm.
And you, Professor Hassan?
Well, my response is very similar to Klaus. I originally came from Syria, and over there I didn't have much opportunity to do the kind of career I have right now or the kind of research that I want to do. So if you're interested in technology, if you're interested in science, especially in my case, if you're interested in robotics, then frankly, there's no place better than Japan to go there and try to pursue that dream.
Mm-hmm.
So Hassan, I'm going to ask you then, we're discussing master's and doctoral programs in intelligent and mechanical interaction systems and computer science. Tell us about these programs. I mean, how would you describe these programs, Hassan?
So the program in computer science is more of a foundational program where we study the fundamental technologies that build our computational systems and also how we can use those technologies. So to give you two examples of what kind of study we do in the computational sciences, we have here the supercomputer group where professors research how to build some of the biggest computers in the world. A few years ago, Tsukuba was host of one of the top 10 computers. Of course, this changes every year, so it's not the top 10 anymore, but we keep studying how to do high performance computings that are used to calculate climate change and like nanophysics and all sorts of very computationally expensive technologies. So that's the focus of the computer science department, is calculation, heavy calculation, and how to apply this heavy calculation to help the world.
Is it the same as the intelligence and mechanical interaction systems?
Yeah, I was going to say that is about the computer science program to which Professor Klaus belongs. I belong to the intelligent and mechanical interaction systems. It's quite a different program. It's a more hardware-based engineering program. The interaction here means interaction with the human. So this program is focused on all types of devices, robotics, wearable devices, computing methods, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, in which the engineering system itself, it has to interact with the human, or the human has to be the user in some sense of it. So our program is basically macro-level engineering, including electronics, electrical systems, intelligent systems, mechanical systems. It focuses heavily on devices that can be used by a human or kind of wearable robotics that can assist the human.
What kind of interaction do you have with industry? So, for example, this is university, it's training, and it's also doing a lot of research, like you've explained. Are you interacting with industry to see whether you can also test some of the systems that you're producing in proper work environments, or also getting feedback and needs from the industry? Starting with you, Professor Klaus.
Well, yes. Several of our laboratories, we have collaboration with industries at different levels in Japan. I think the best way to talk about it is to talk through examples. Two collaborations that our laboratories have done recently include with mobile companies in Japan. So this is a project that I'm particularly involved with. We are creating a simulation of COVID transmission disease. So to simulate how COVID spreads through a city, we need to know where people are. And to know where people are, we need to obtain data of how people move, so we can put that in our simulations. And this data we are obtaining through collaboration with mobile companies in Japan. A second example that I would like to give of industry collaboration is a project that we have in collaboration with drug companies, medical companies, that we simulate how the different medicines will react in terms of chemistry, and we use information from that chemistry to help companies develop their new drugs. So yes, we need to talk to the industry, both to get data for our research, but also to return the results of our research to society.
Are there some robotics that you are developing and handing out to the industry, Professor Hassan?
Yeah, actually, in our case, the trend is a little bit shifted towards venture businesses. So a lot of professors in our department, they kind of try to develop their technology for many years, and eventually they start up with company themselves to kind of market their technology. Some examples, we have the robot suit HAL, which is a wearable robot that helps people walk, those who cannot walk, those who have hemiplegia or paralysis. And now they have a very nice company nearby in the city, and they're marketing their products to hospitals and to care centers. Other examples, we have startup companies of a device that can measure swallowing, which is very good to monitor the health of elderly who cannot eat well. We have startup companies for modern wheelchairs that have new functions that were not available with the old wheelchairs. People can move around more freely. They can move around in the sitting posture or in the standing posture. And we're trying to foster this actually because the industry itself, they have their own economical business. We're trying to make new businesses that are not available yet in the market.
I mean, so obviously we're talking about cutting edge global trends that are being taught to students at this university. Now, we're looking at this master's to a doctorate level. So what then should students who are applying to these programs have studied to be able to get into these programs? What undergraduate then are they required to at least have before they come?
That's a very good question. And I would say that there are 3 requirements that are very important for students applying to these programs. The first requirement is that the students need to have a very good grades in their original school, no matter what is their original degree. They need a very good grade to be eligible for scholarships. The second requirement is master and PhD, as we're talking, is really faced towards research. It's faced towards developing new technologies. So more than studying this or studying that, I'd say that the students need to have a very clear idea of what kind of research they are interested. That's one of the things that I personally look at the student more than if the student know this or know that. I want a student that have a strong dream. Third, finally, answering your question directly, what a student should study, I'd say that the basics, at least in the computer science, is a general knowledge of programming. It doesn't need to be this language or that language, as long as the student has a strong basis, and also a strong mathematical basis. Discrete mathematics and calculus. So these are the basics that we use in our research. But I would like to reinforce that this is the third requirement. If the student has a strong knowledge, a strong desire for research, like a clear image of what they want to study, and if they have good grades in whatever they are studying, these specific topics we can learn as we research.
Professor Hassan?
Yeah, in the case of the IMIS, similarly, the student has to be motivated. They need to have a good idea about a research topic they would like to pursue. My recommendation, which is not actually a requirement, is just a recommendation, is it would be great if their bachelor degree has been done in some form of electronics engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, mechatronics, informatics. I think all these fields, they give kind of a strong foundation to enter this kind of program. But even if you have it, it's not a guarantee because students will apply and then a certain top percentage will be accepted. So you have to be one of the better performing students among your colleagues.
What's the application rate and then your admission rate? I mean, what percentage of those that apply do you actually end up admitting, starting with the computer department?
That's a very good question. In the computer science, we just had our last application, our last entrance examination, and I would say that the application rate to the acceptance rate, I'd say that we have about 120% of students applying. So we have if we have 100 openings, we had about 120 students applying. So that's not a very high number, but don't be fooled, because there is one step that is unofficial, which is before you take the entrance examination, you have to contact a professor in Japan and convince the professor to accept you, to okay, you can take the entrance examination because I like your research project. So that's one part that people usually don't talk about. Before you take the entrance examination, you have to talk to different laboratories to say, oh, I want to take an entrance examination and join your laboratory. Is that okay? And at that point, the main part, as I said before, is having a good idea of what research you want to do and finding a professor that is interested in that kind of research.
Okay. What kind of jobs or what kind of careers? Because I think everybody gets into a master's, PhD, looking, forward to a career path if they're not already in one. And so I guess for the both of you, Professor Hassan and Klaus, what kind of careers have you seen successful students out of both of these programs then going into after they finish their coursework?
Mother, do you have to take this one?
Yes, I think I'd like to hear from you well as Professor Hassan as well.
So I will go first then. So actually, one thing I wanted to mention regarding the previous question, that the IMIS program is not a strictly English program, it's a mixed program, it has Japanese and English. So we have larger application numbers than the specific program Klaus was talking about. And we have a little bit stricter acceptance rates. We have 3 entrance exams a year, and in July, in August, and in January. And for each one, there is different rate of acceptance. So it depends. But as a basic rule of thumb, you have to be, I think, among the top 10% of your class in your home university to have kind of a good shot of being accepted here. Regarding the job market, actually, our graduates, they're working in all kind of major Japanese companies and small Japanese companies. I cannot count all of them because I don't know all of them. You have Sony, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Panasonic, any kind of company that is based on technology, on making something with engineering. Our graduates have a very good shot at working there. We have graduates who, international students, many who decide to stay here. Many who decide to go back home or to go to other countries. Some of them go to Europe to work in research institutions if they have a PhD. So the sky is the limit. You decide your own destiny after you get your degree.
That's brilliant. When do the applications open, and when does admission begin? Start with you, Moda.
Can I mention first about this class?
Yes.
So as I mentioned, there is 3 entrance exams, and each one has different application period, and it might differ per year. So please go to the website. So you can just search University of Tsukuba, IMIS, in the case of our program, and there is an admission page, and it mentions all the information for all the 3 exams. And also there you can find which one is suitable for you based on your degree and what program you're applying for. So check the information for that year. As an easy rule of thumb, for July, you have to apply at least a couple of months before, maybe 1 month before July. So in June, the admission will be closed. The same for August, the same for January.
Okay. And all the information is available on the Tsukuba website.
Definitely.
All right. Klaus?
Yes. So about computer science, we also have different ways to apply. Our general entrance examination is in August, and the official application date is in July. Also, we have a scholarship program that the application period for the scholarship program is in August, for the entrance examination in October. So there are these 2 application periods, but as I mentioned before you even apply, you should contact the research laboratory that you are interested in joining. So students that are interested in coming to Japan, I would recommend that they start to talk to the professors, to try to talk to the professors much earlier, in maybe April or May. So around April or May, you start sending messages to the professor saying, oh, I'm interested in joining your university, either as a self-funded student or I'm interested in the scholarship program. So you can start talking to the professor and see which professors are more closely to your research project. Finally, there is one more thing that I think is important, both for my course and also for Mulder's program, which is the Japanese Ministry of Education, the Japanese Embassy Scholarship, the MAX Scholarship, which is a scholarship that the students apply in Kenya at the Japanese Embassy in Kenya to get a scholarship at the university in Japan. The period, I'm not exactly sure. It depends on, this exists in many countries. Each country is different, but usually the application period for the embassy scholarship is also around May. So a student wanting to come to Japan, they should start looking for information in the beginning of April. And then in May, they apply to the scholarship, they contact the Japanese professors, and they will finally take the entrance examinations around August. That is the general application route.
Path. In fact, Dr. Midori is here with us, Dr. Midori Diamond from a study in Japan, Africa. When we take this break, when you come back from the break, you'll tell us about these scholarships, how to apply from the government scholarship here from the Embassy of Japan, and then the other scholarship programs that are available for people who would wish to go and study in Japan, and particularly in the University of Tsukuba, which we're focusing on today. Our guests this morning are two professors from the University of Tsukuba in Japan, Professor Moda Hassan and Professor Klaus Aronya. Right? I had to know how to pronounce it. Yeah. Klaus Aranya. Klaus is from the Department of Computer Science, and Moda is the Department of Intelligent and Mechanical Interaction Systems, IMIS. Both of them telling us, if you'd like to go and study for your master's or doctoral programs in this university, this is the route to go about it, and it's actually very possible. Both of them are beneficiaries of this particular program, and they'll also tell us their own experiences of application and getting into the program, getting accepted, what they had to do, how they went about it, and then you also know what to do if you are interested in it. 28 minutes to 8. Let's take a quick break. This is The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM. We also live stream the show on Facebook and YouTube and our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. We are very good friends of Showmax.
Indeed. Now looking at the most recent series that's coming out on Showmax, it's County 49. And that's already out. Episode 4 comes out this week, and looking at the intrigues of what's happening in Bwatele County, which is a fictional county in Kenya's breadbasket. It's County 49. For as little as 760 shillings per month, have access to this and other great programming on Showmax.
Indeed. Let's be back after this quick break.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Introducing Bwatele, County 49. A rich county where the leadership has failed its people. Justice and peace are elusive while violence sweeps through the county. What will be done to save the people of Bwatele County? Watch County 49 as our heroes and villains clash in an exciting tale of corruption, greed, love, and redemption. Every week on Showmax.com.
Showmax has done it again. County 49.
Bwatele hoye!
A gripping political drama that follows the ongoings within Bwatele County, Kenya's fictional 49th county, premiered to much acclaim on Showmax on Thursday, the 25th of August.
If any of our demands are not met, your governor will be executed live online.
Join me and my co-hosts C.T. Muga and Eric Latif on The Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday to find out more about County 49 and why you need to subscribe to Showmax for this and more premium Kenyan content.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table? They beat us like Burukenge.
What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Cloudy conditions at 15 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy at 15 in Nakuru. We'll go to highs of 22. 20 will be the high in a rainy Nyeri this morning at 14, and it's 14 and cloudy in Eldoret. Highs of 21 and lows of 13. Mostly sunny conditions at 23 in Mombasa. Highs of 28 and lows of 23. And we're looking at sunny conditions now at 25 in Malindi with highs of 28 and lows of 24. It's 20 and cloudy in Kisumu. Highs of 27. 26 will be the high in a cloudy Kakamega. Looking at 19 and mostly sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 23. It's 9 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly clear Lagos at 24. It's 21 and mostly clear in Kinshasa for now. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 21. All right, it's built up quite some on the Thika Superhighway today, and we're looking at traffic inbound, really heavy all the way beyond that outer ring junction, well into Kiambu County today, and that's the traffic that's coming into Nairobi. Let's also look at Kiambu Road, which is also pretty heavy coming past Kenya Pipeline on Kiambu Road. In and outbound traffic is extremely heavy, as it is on Limuru Road today, coming in past City Park. We're also going to see that it starts well in there beyond United Nations Avenue, coming in from Kitisuru. That traffic on the northern bypass is also pretty scary from what we see. It's pretty heavy as well. Coming out of Westlands, James Gishero doing that thing which we thought it was going to do. Gitanga Road, a mess. We're looking at Naivasha Road, then joining with Gong Road, coming into the city, pretty crazy as well. Arving's Kodet going on towards Gitanga and then out towards Mzima Springs. That area we're looking at really busy. Also coming out to James Gishero, crossing over Wayakiwe into Kuna Road. And we're looking at the Red Hill Link Road with quite some traffic as well. So it's that morning. It's just past 7:30. We're likely to see it get crazier, at least between now and 9:30. Wits about, folks, and hang on to your saddle. Let's go know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, it's 28 minutes to 8
Mornings
This is
done right. 94.
Syndrome. We continue the conversation about studying in Japan, and our guests, Professor Moda Hassan and Professor Klaus Aranya, both from the University of Tsukuba in Japan, joining us via video link from Japan, and Dr. Midori Daimon from the study in Japan, Kenya. She's here with us in the studio. Midori, let's talk about the application for scholarships.
Okay.
How many different kinds of scholarships do we have?
Okay, there's some scholarship. So right now, let me talk about Japanese government mixed scholarship. And the mixed is MEXT, but that meaning that that short name for Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. It's very long, so we call it
X
mixed.
is the Culture, Sports, Science. Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. Mixed.
Yes, mixed scholarship.
Okay.
And then this mixed scholarship is full funded. So it meaning including air ticket, go and fro, and also, of course, tuition fee and also monthly stipend. You'll get enough to survive that side. And then this scholarship has two categories. One is embassy recommendation. The other one is university recommendation. So let's talk about embassy recommendation. And this embassy recommendation, which already Professor Alanya talked about it, this one usually, including Kenya, all over the world, the embassy of Japan in your country application period open around late April. Yes, and then usually the deadline of that application is May, and then annually they advertise. Yes, so once a year they open and then they close. Yes, and then the application documents, including of course academic transcript and also research idea. Yes, research proposal. Yes.
So you have to go to the embassy in your country, like we have to go to the embassy in Upper Hill.
Yeah, now
or can we access this material online?
Actually, now you can download it from the website, their website, the application form, and then you can fill it, and then but you have to submit physically. In Kenya, you can't email it. You can't apply online, but you have to submit or you have to like post it.
Okay.
Yes, and then after the application document screening, they will call you if you pass the first document screening. They will call you to take written exam, English, and also oral interview in English. And then after that second screening, if you pass it, and then you have to start contact the university to find your prospective supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have to say that in the application form you have to write the name of professors, but that time you don't need contact them. Yeah, but after that you pass the second screening. Start
engaging with the professor.
Yes.
So this is the embassy recommendation. The university recommendation, then how does it work?
Okay, university recommendation, you have to apply through university where you want to be admitted.
Right.
And then I can't say all university has that university recommendation opportunities. Not all, but some universities they have, and then usually they don't open this information so much. But we study in Japan for Africa project. We try to collect that information, and then we always update that. If they open the application, we just post that information on our SNS, Facebook, Twitter. So I want you to follow our SNS, and then those university recommendation, usually application period around September, October till like maybe November or December. Actually, this one also, it depends on the university. Yes.
Are there other opportunities for scholarship application aside from the MEXT?
Okay, so this MEXT scholarship is full funded, but also each university has their own scholarship, such as tuition reduction, or maybe some other private foundation can offer you some monthly stipend. Like in Japan, you can cost monthly like $780 per month. This is average. Yeah, but like some private foundation can offer you like $400 per month, 1 year, for 1 year, and then you can apply again after 1 year, every 1 year. And then, so like after you go there, you can also get opportunity to apply for those scholarship. And then before you also go there, you can ask university which kind of scholarship are there, and then you can apply for that through university where you are going to be admitted. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, coming back to you, professors, if I can ask you, Professor Hassan, looking at the students that you have been through the program, what would you say that are some skills that they've then been able to have that would then impact on a career, or that would impact on the job? That what exactly are we putting out? I mean, we've looked at the side saying that these are the jobs that students would then be able to get. But what are then some skills that then they would definitely be able to acquire, having been through the system? If we can hear from you, Professor Hassan, and then from you, Professor Klaus.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, the most important skill in a graduate program is research, the ability to do research. Once you go this cycle once or twice, and you're able to analyze a topic of current technology or science, and you understand it well enough, so you propose how to do research on it, and then you do the research and you improve on it. And first of all, you have contributed to the human culture in general because you added something to our current knowledge. And you contribute to yourself a lot because you kind of grow and develop your ability to understand a field of science and technology and to contribute to it. That being said, after you graduate from your program, whichever it is, you don't have to work exactly on that same topic again because the skills are transferable. So whichever company that is willing to hire you after that, they're not necessarily hiring you for this specific skill that you did, but for the more general ability that you developed during your program. Other skills, obviously, are communication skills. You have to talk with people. You have to present your work, your research. You have to convince the jury of your master's thesis or your doctoral thesis that you're worthy of the degree. Internationalization skills are definitely important. I'm pretty sure I'm a different person now than the person who came here 12 years ago. Once you deal with people from different backgrounds and different nationalities, you grow as a person. And perhaps there are many more that I myself am not aware of because other people might have different experiences than mine.
All right. Before we come to you, Professor Klaus, Hassan, what was that in the background? Was that your robot chiming?
Oh, no. That sound in the background was the chime that goes through the university when the time to change classes happen. So we have that chime about every hour and a half and indicates the time for the next class.
All right.
It's actually a traditional chime all over Japan. Most schools have a chime that is very similar to that. So talking about skills, so I agree with what Moda said, especially about the internationalization and like growing as a person, meeting people that are different from you, meeting people from many different countries, living by yourself in a country that speaks a different language, that has different cultures, that makes you a much more flexible peace person, and also like makes you realize that the world is much bigger than what is around you. And that's very important to any sort of workspace. That makes you a person that is able to face all sorts of challenges and difficulties. From a more technical point of view, here in the computer science recently, the biggest point has been artificial intelligence and deep learning models. So even when that is not the focus of your research, you're usually going to see many different sorts of technologies regarding artificial intelligence. I like to give examples. So one example, a student that graduated from my research group last year, he is a student from Indonesia. Before he came, he worked with apps, mobile apps, and we worked for 2 years here with technologies for using artificial intelligence to detect patterns in images, especially in terms of agriculture. And he took these technologies and he's now applying it back in Indonesia with his family. So his family has a family farm, and they're using similar techniques to what we learned here to improve the farm of his family back in Indonesia.
Speaking of which, earlier you talked about, Professor Klaus, the difficulty of students from other countries, for example, your own country, Brazil, advancing your engineering course and programs. It's because of a lack of funding for research. Now, I'm sure you have this conversation with many of your students, even you, Hassan, you know, all your international students coming into the university, seeing the available resources in this university, seeing the you know, everything that's in the university, and then wondering, once I finish and I go back home, how will I be able to sustain this level of research, this kind of work? What do you tell them?
So that is a extremely good question. And I would say that the first answer that I give is that also another skill, I mean, which is not so important if you're going to industry, but if you're going to be a scientist, one of the most important skills of doing an internship, a research abroad, is your ability to create contacts. So this is actually the second time I am in Japan. I went to Japan for the first time for a PhD 10 years ago. And after that, I returned to Brazil. And of course, the research environment is very different. But because I had this contact in Japan, I could do collaborative research with people in Japan and also with people in other places in the world that I made friendships when I was here. So even if you have difficulties, even if your country has difficulties, by making this connection, by going abroad and making these connections, you're not alone anymore when you're back. I mean, you're back to your country, but you still have contacts in Japan, contacts in Europe, contacts in Asia, contacts in America, and you can use that to power up your research even after you come back. Right now, I am collaborating with 2 different laboratories in Brazil, and we do the research here in Japan and in Brazil at the same time, having meetings online, especially today that we have like the Zoom and internet. So we do this collaboration. So of course, there is a limitation to that, but you can do this contact. You can create this international network.
Great. Hassan, the same question to you, and of course for you, because you're dealing with mechatronics and all, things that you said have to have human interaction. Then there's a lot of fabrication. You need even more funds in your doing your own research when you leave Japan. How do you address that?
Yeah. Well, to be a reasonable person, I cannot do the same research I'm doing here anywhere else. There are places in which I can do this research. There are not. In my case, I chose to stay here, and I was lucky to get an opportunity to work here, so I could enjoy the research. But if I was to move to another country, then as a reasonable person, I would look for the possibilities and the capabilities that are available there, and I will try to do something there and innovate there. But to this point, I mentioned a little bit briefly earlier, I don't have to do exactly the same research that I did during my PhD or during my master's degree. All these skills are transferable. All these skills grow the person as a scientist, as an investigator, as a researcher. And then in any new environment you put them, I would expect they will be able to find in that environment what is worth pursuing, and they would be very good at doing it, other than people who didn't have the experience of doing research abroad or in their own country.
Same as Professor Klaus. Hassan, do you have examples of some of your students or some of your former colleagues who left and went back to their countries, and maybe they're doing some work that you can speak of?
Well, one graduate of our laboratory is working now in Max Planck Research Institute in Germany, which is one of the best in the world. Actually, I'm quite jealous because I would like to get the opportunity to go there. I didn't, he did.
Klaus?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned the student from Indonesia that is continuing using the research that he learned here to apply to his family business. But to give 2 different examples, one is a student that studied with me about 6 years ago. We did artificial intelligence for games, and now he's developing games in Brazil. I'm not sure if he's using the same technologies that he used during his research here, but definitely the fact that he did artificial intelligence for games here was part of his motivation to try to develop his own games. That's one example. And the second example is not one that is already graduated. It's one that is studying with me right now, but I think it counts. It's a student that came here. He had a restaurant in Brazil, and he came here exactly to learn artificial intelligence techniques that could be used for managing his business when he returned to his country.
What is the hope that, even as you've had certain students who've obviously been through this program, and it's to have, as many more who want to explore the possibilities of, really gaining and sharing the skills that they have? What would be the hope? What would you, for students, for prospective students who are coming and are on the, cusp of making a decision? Can I go here? What can I do? Is there adequate for you to say, look, try it out and see that you can be guaranteed at the very least of a learning experience?
Yes. So for the person who is on the cusp, I would say that this is an experience that transforms your life. Of course, the research part is very important, but as someone who has been a student before, I think the main part is like living in a country that is very, very, very different from your own and talking to people that are very, very, very different from your own, it's probably going to be one of the biggest challenges in your life. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to miss your family. You're going to have many things that are different. But if you can go through with that, you will be a person that can really take any challenge, any new, you can take any change that happens to you and try that. So I think it's very, very good, a very, very good experience.
And what about for you, Professor Hassan? What would you say to those, I mean, having had those who've passed through and those who are now trying to make a decision to come in today, over the next, long period of time, what would it be would be the decision maker for them?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, it's like about someone who's kind of looking for the opportunity and they're like on the step of making a decision whether to take it or not. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my advice is strictly and firmly and absolutely, if you get a chance to do something different from what you're doing now, hopefully better, definitely go for it. Never stop, not even for a second. And my personal advice to any student who's looking to continue their studies, studying abroad is really, really, really important. If I could have a magical wand and make a rule that every student has to study at least 1 year abroad, I would make that decision immediately. Because going abroad, going out of your circle and moving into another circle, hopefully a larger circle, and interacting with people there by itself is growing you as a person more than you can realize even at the time. Maybe later you will realize how much different you become. So if you get the chance, just go for it. And even if it ends up in failure, it's not really failure. Even if you failed at some part, but actually you would have gained a lot different from the part that you didn't achieve. So if somebody gives me a scholarship to go somewhere, or if I can afford it somehow, definitely I would do it immediately. I would recommend anyone who is in these shoes to take the chance and try something out new.
Dr. Midori, looking at all you as study in Japan, Africa, you're running this program where you're sensitizing and creating awareness to people in Africa, let's start, people in Kenya, to know that there are this very many universities where people can go and study for undergrad and for graduate programs in Japan. And then you link them up with the universities as well, or you bring the information. How can someone get to know about other universities apart from the University of Tsukuba? What other universities are offering programs in Japan? And first of all, just before you come in, actually, gentlemen, Professor Klaus, your program, the one we are discussing today, is 100% English, is it not?
That's a very good point. The lectures are in English. The research is in English. And I always say this to my students. You can study everything in English, but the bus driver only speaks Japanese, and your hairdresser speaks Japanese, and the person in the supermarket will also speak in Japanese. So even though you can study in English, I recommend that people who are coming to Japan to at least try to study Japanese online and learn a little bit, because it will help a lot. It will make a huge difference.
Oh, great. So Midori-san, where can people get information?
Okay, so we study in Japan for Africa. We have a website and SNS. And then also we are going to have a big event, online event, the end of this month. Actually, our today's guest, University of Tsukuba, they are going to also be there. So if you have interest in discuss with them, please join our online event, Study in Japan Online Fair 2022. So you can search Study in Japan for Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and also like Google. You can reach us. And then can I say the online fair site?
Yep.
That is 2022. 2022 studyinjapan-africa-portal.com. That is our online event site. So you can visit us and then you can register for free. And then please take advantage of discussing with the universities in Japan directly online.
Thank you very much. Midori-san, thank you. Always a pleasure having you. Hope to see you again next week.
Yes.
As we talk to people from a different university. And gentlemen, Professor Boda Hassan and Professor Klaus Aranya, thank you very much for joining us and have a lovely afternoon.
It was great. Thank you.
Asanteni sana. Keep it here for more conversations. If you'd like to, of course, to get more information about how to study in Japan, go and just Google Study in Japan, Africa. You'll get the social media sites, you get the website, and you'll also be able to get the portal where you can get this online event taking place in coming days. A very good morning to you, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I am Stephanie Wangari. Trans Nzoia Parents Association chairperson Wellington Waliaula has welcomed President William Ruto's decision to involve public participation in the implementation of the competency-based curriculum (CBC). Waliaula said that it was time to come up to streamline the school calendar, which he says has faced many challenges.
CBC imeleta mambo mengi, imeleta a lot of involvement, imeleta a lot of engagement kwa wazazi, na wazazi wengi wako nje kutafuta pesa kwa sababu ya kulipia watoto wao school fees. Na inakuwa ni vigumu sana mzazi kutoka pengine gasi anafunga saa 3 saa 4 ya usiku kuja tena kuangalia mambo ya vitabu ya watoto. Kwa hivyo nataka kuuliza rais wetu mpendwa, tunakushukuru kwa sababu umechukua hatamu ya uongozi katika nchi hii. Rekebisha mambo ya elimu katika nchi ya Kenya. Public participation iwe ya kwanza. Shule imekuwa ikifungwa ikifunguliwa. Wakati huu tunataka system ya elimu iwe na mpango.
Waliaula says education had become quite costly, with the burden falling solely on parents.
Jambo ambalo limekuwa likikera wazazi ni mpango wa elimu ambao jambo la kwanza umekuwa very costly kwa wazazi, kwa sababu kuna vitu ambavyo vimekuwa vikiitishwa katika shule zetu, kwa mfano mayai, sukari, na vinaitishwa katika nafasi nyingi na hakuna mtu anakadiria juu ya hiyo pesa. Tunataka kuuliza rais wetu, mpango huo uwe wa bure bilashi, la sivyo basi mpango huo wote kwa ujumla uondolewe, turudi katika mpango wa zamani.
Yesterday, President William Ruto said he would create a task force that would collect views from all education players in line with the constitutional demands of public participation.
I will establish an education reform task force in the presidency, which will be launched in the coming weeks. It will collect views from all players in line with the constitutional demand of public participation, and we are particularly alive to the anxieties of parents on the twin transition of the last 844 class and the first CBC class in January next year. I assure all that there will be a solution to the matter before then.
The Kenya Judges and Magistrates Association, KJMA, has welcomed the decision by President William Ruto to appoint and swear in the 6 judges rejected by his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta. KJMA President Derek Kuto said the appointment of the 6 judges is a massive step in promoting the institutional independence of the judiciary and JSC. Kuto noted that President had begun on a positive note in making the judiciary truly independent. Shortly after being sworn in yesterday, Ruto appointed judges Korir Weldon, Muchalule Agri, Odunga George and Joel Mwaura. He also appointed 2 other judges of the Environment and Land Court.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission, and I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
Fuel prices could hit a historic high after today's monthly review of prices, as President William Ruto vowed yesterday to end the subsidy that has kept prices stable since July. During his inauguration at the Kasarani Stadium yesterday, President Ruto hinted that he would do away with subsidies on fuel and food, arguing that they are a huge burden to the exchequer and often lead to product shortages.
If the subsidy continues to the end of the financial year, it will cost taxpayers 280 billion, equivalent to the entire national government development budget. In addition to being very costly, consumption subsidy interventions are prone to abuse. They distort markets and create uncertainty, including artificial shortages of the very products they seek to subsidize.
Being the 14th day of the month, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is expected to announce new fuel prices, which will be in place for the next month. That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, we're looking at a few minutes after 8 o'clock and traffic is really heavy coming off Langata Road. It's doing the same thing on Lunga Lunga and Jogo Road. Getting to Landis Road is going to be a bit difficult today. There's in and outbound traffic on Landis. It's spilling over towards Kamkunji. There's a mess on the Thika Superhighway. It's way beyond the Outer Ring Junction. It's in and outbound on Kiambu Road. It's crazy on Limuru Road. It's going into the belly of Gigiri today. Very, very heavy coming off of the Red Hill Link Road. So I know that was your escape route from the mess that's going on James Gishuru and then Wayaki Way, but you might want to rethink it because coming off of Kitisuru, that's crazy. The Northern Bypass might help here and there, but it looks like traffic hour might be traffic hours today. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, tell us what's going on with you, where you are, but we're in it proper this morning and it's going to take some time. Be safe regardless. Let us know what's going on where you are and we try to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 7 minutes after 8.
This is the Situation Room.
It's the 14th day of September 2022. Is it day 1 or day 2 of the 5th administration of the Republic of Kenya? However you want to look at it, well, it's still day 1. We haven't done 24 hours yet. Yeah. And today is the day that the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority does the thing. The president has said things. We'll be discussing that and many others of what we expect in the Ruto presidency in the next hour with our guest in studio, Dr. Barack Muluka. Before we welcome and introduce him, CT has the day's proverb. CT, yes.
You know you're not all together there.
CT is away, so I have the proverb. It's an ancient Egyptian proverb. Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Evil as well as good both operate to advance the great plan. Dr. Muluka.
That's amazing, Eric. If we assume that wicked plans can be great, then we can see that evil is also advancing the great plan. But I think that greatness and wickedness and evil are counter-indicated, and therefore even some of this traditional wisdom has got to be interrogated and be deconstructed and reconstructed.
How would you
certain things
this
are
one?
mutually exclusive.
You
can't say this is a great thief. For example, this is a great liar. Greatness is positively attributed.
Yeah, but to get to that point of greatness, maybe somebody
like
actually used some...
A great murderer. Can we have a person who is a great murderer?
No, somebody can be a great king. For them to become a great king, they killed very many people.
They don't become great by virtue of the fact that they got there through killing. Then the element of greatness is removed. they may be anything but great.
But great.
That's interesting. I think things like brilliance have been attributed to things that you could call evil as well. And so maybe that's where the adjective of great then would be applied. That when people look at, my goodness, the way in which they planned this thievery was a masterpiece of brilliance.
I think that is a convoluted kind of pejorative brilliance, if you want, and it therefore becomes sinister. You cannot call that kind of perverted cleverness brilliance.
But then maybe landing it saying
there
that
are certain things that are positive and some things are negative, regardless of what end they drive us to, what destination we reach. If you become an extremely wealthy individual because you have raided the bank and you have shot people and killed them, and you have planned how to get there and how many you are going to murder, and you can't say at the end of it all that that was a brilliant plan. It was an extremely wicked plan, and that wickedness and that evil is pejorative. And there's no iota of the possibility that we could look at them
anything positive about
in
it.
positive terms.
For you,
that is where the gentleman from Tanzania called Ben Mutobo, whom I was privileged to publish some years ago, wrote a book titled Pesa Zako Zinanuka.
Pesa zako zinanuka.
Yeah.
For you and Ben, the means justify the end.
It's not always so.
For some others, the end justifies the means.
The means are the end is as good as the means by which we get there. Dr. Martin Luther King has told us that in the sermon titled Discovering Lost Values.
Asante. Good way of looking at it. Daktari, we have a new president. The fifth administration is upon us. The president saw 2 oaths of office and took instruments of power yesterday, and immediately he spoke to the nation and he said, I am beginning to implement what I told you I am going to implement should you give me your vote. First, I'm going to be a president for all. 2, there are many promises that I made. 3, I know what has been happening in the government. I know what's worked. I know what's not working. And also something else that Ndu even mentioned earlier, he was very gracious with his predecessor, who was there. He was present. Uhuru Kenyatta performed exemplary well, in terms of he was present, he smiled, he sat through the speeches, he accepted to continue helping this administration in the peace efforts around the region, the Great Lakes particularly. And what did you make of the president's speech, maiden speech?
It was an omnibus, what I would call an omnibus kind of address, touching almost on everything, rarely getting into the depth of anything, as would be expected on that kind of occasion. Because if he were to dwell too long on any one area or 2-3 areas, there wouldn't be sufficient time to touch on other things. And we pundits and critics would look at that address afterwards, and we would say, oh, he said nothing on this, said nothing on that, and so on. Now, if you look at the architecture and design of that address, it was very deliberate, beginning with an appreciation of the electoral process, recognizing the various challenges and stages and the players, and celebrating those who, in his view, did a sterling job, falling short of calling out the outgoing regime, but that had already been done by the Jean Provocateur, who was the deputy president, Only I wished he had done so in a Kiswahili, so that it would have been for our own consumption as East Africans.
Mambo ya nyumbani.
Yes, certain things ambazo ni mambo ya home. It could have been sorted out. I think it still should have been said, perhaps even on another occasion.
But not this one.
If it was to be said on that occasion, limit its consumption to the domestic audience, and the domestic audience here is very clearly East African, because we are the ones who have followed these goings on very closely and who get affected. And then after that, the new president goes into making certain promissory notes about the future. And in a couple of cases, in fact, acting immediately and therefore defining the incoming regime as a very sleek, probably lean and mean, go-get-it kind of regime.
Kusema na kutenda.
That ni ya kusema na kutenda contrasts significantly with what may be seen as a fat and wobbly outgoing regime. The test of that pudding is actually going to be in what is done in the coming days to see whether this is going to be sustained or to borrow from the Supreme Court, whether it's going to be hot air. We have to wait and see. You mentioned something about the Energy Regulatory Board.
Yeah.
You saw that the incoming president mentioned something about the fuel subsidies.
Yes.
But he was shy of going further to...
He didn't say it, then what?
To say then what? I think that was a curtain raiser, a harbinger, an inoculation for what is to follow.
The bitter pill.
In the sense that I think he was basically telling us the subsidies are going. Some of the things that DP said about the kitty, I thought that the president should probably have plucked ample courage to talk about them. The kitty. They've obviously had meetings with the Treasury officials, with the Central Bank of Kenya, the Bureau of Statistics and others, and they have taken a good peek into the kitty. And I have no doubt that they have seen their problems ahead. Sometimes it helps to pronounce yourself out on day one and tell the country that it's going to be tough before it can get better.
But I thought they mentioned that, well, starting with the deputy president, saying his remarks were off-the-cuff remarks. And actually, you've got to commend the man for standing up there and, speaking so eloquently without even hesitation. And you could see his thoughts were clear in his mind. Well, maybe the anger was also a good driving factor. But he mentioned we are inheriting an economy that is in the doldrums. We are basically inheriting empty coffers, and we've got to do a lot of work with it. What more would you have expected him to say?
He was probably prompted, the DP, to make those pronouncements as a curtain raiser and to obviate the necessity for the incoming president to make forays into that space. Still, this is William Ruto's dance. This is William Ruto's tea party. It is William Ruto's regime. If things work, he takes the credit. If things don't work, he takes the beating. And it would have helped, I think, especially seeing that you are saying this is a new dispensation. This is a new go-getter dispensation. We are thinking about the cost of living. One of the first things, the very first things that are going to happen under this dispensation is that their cost of living is going to shoot up. And it is good, even the nurse, when she wants to inject you, after she has rubbed that place with a bit of cotton, she tells you it will be a little painful, but not so much. Don't get that injection into me without cautioning me on what is coming.
This is going to sting a little bit.
This is going to sting
but it's for the,
a little bit, because we know that the World Bank is twisting the arm. They are saying, look, these subsidies of yours are not working. They're not going to work. In another 6 months' time, this is where they are going to have taken you. You'll be completely out of range. Please get rid of them. Now, if you remove the subsidies, today the cost of a litre of petrol is about 159, 160 Kenya shillings. By Christmas this year, it's likely to be anywhere near 200 Kenya shillings.
With the subsidy in place.
The subsidy won't be there. The subsidy will go.
Do you think, and I mean, we've had conversations in this room often, and we've said, you know what, it's probably a responsible leader who would tell the people of the country, just like mommy and daddy would tell the children, we're not going on vacation this year, kind of thing. And that we said it would be highly responsible of a leader to tell the people of the country exactly what the situation is. Obviously, there are certain things that President William Ruto is inheriting, some good, some bad. But if we're talking about the cost of living, it's going to be difficult in the coming months. Do you think, and is this a stance that you should take to tell the people just exactly how things are, lay it bare?
It would help. That is my view. And remember, I have spent all my life, my working life, in communications, Eric, particularly communications of a strategic nature. The expectations in this country are extremely high. Of expectations of the new regime, expectations of the so-called hustler community are extremely high. We must remember that this is the one president who has characterized himself as the people's president and has been indeed endorsed and elected by the people. Raila Odinga earlier on styled himself as the people's president and even went on to administer upon himself an extrajudicial oath to a non-existent office of the people's president. William Ruto has gravitated across the national landscape, characterizing himself as the people's candidate and eventually maturing and blossoming into the people's candidate elected by the hustlers. There was a certain middle-class band that was quite averse to his candidature, that did not consider itself to be part of the people, part of the hustlers. They are those people who have idealized him, and they have idealized the incoming regime, and they're expecting to see magic and wonders tomorrow morning. And if it's not going to happen, they're going to be extremely upset.
Then they start immediately feeling...
They start feeling bad. They start saying, we have been taken for a ride. And it does help to state up front that as we get here, our initial interaction with the treasury, with the kitty, with the coffers, indicates that it's not good at all. We have to tighten the belt a little while because of what... And it would have given them no better moment than when the person who has been in charge of the granary is seated right there. Because from that moment, responsibility in government is hereditary, it is residual. It's going to be difficult to say it was
the other guy.
The other guy.
But did you get that feeling from the speech There are those who've said this speech was basically communicating to that base that elected you, that you went around the country and said, you know what, there's something happening in there, and that's why I'm not in there anymore. I'm out. I'm coming to you so that you give me the opportunity to be the one who runs the show. And he gave a lot of hope. And yesterday's speech was sort of balancing on management of the hope. Managing hope, I know that you guys expect me to do things immediately. So he looked at what's the easiest thing that I can say I can do immediately. There are some judges whose appointment is pending. If I actually just do that, then I'm showing that I have intention of going forward. The next thing is I'll say that the judiciary is going to get its funding, and the judiciary fund is already in operation. And now you're saying that from the next financial year, which is how many months away from now? That's when we are going to add an extra 3 billion shillings to them. That is sounding like it's a today thing, but it's not a today thing. It's managing expectations. The police service, we are going to make sure that the Inspector General of Police is the accounting officer, and we're going to give him autonomy over the funds. He has not said how much or when, or, it's managing and creating that expectation of, we are moving. But on the things that people are facing today, the cost of living, he went around it, spoke glowingly about it, but went around it. Allow me to quote his speech. He said, the cost of living challenges are related to production. Before we get there, he talks about, we anchored our campaign on the platform of the economy premised on job creation and the well-being of the people. And we have been working continuously on the measures to bring down the cost of living. They've been working on measures to bring down the cost of living. The next thing you expect is kesho unga.
Cost of living.
Yeah.
Down.
Then he goes on to say, our people are confronted daily with increasingly unaffordable prices, especially food and transport. In our economic forums across the country during the campaign, citizens consistently shared their anxiety, pain and fury on this matter of food and transport. It calls for an urgent and decisive resolution. What are you expecting next?
Urgent.
Unga.
Down.
Shuka. The interventions in place have not borne any fruit. On fuel subsidy alone, taxpayers have spent a total of 144 billion, a whopping 60 billion in the last 4 months. If the subsidy continues to the end of this financial year, it'll have cost the taxpayer 280 billion shillings, equivalent to the entire national government development budget. Additionally, there was an attempt to subsidize unga in the run-up to the election, a program that gobbled up 7 billion shillings in a month with no impact. In addition to being very costly, consumption subsidy interventions are prone to abuse. They distort markets. They create uncertainty, including artificial shortages, and the very products being subsidized. So he says the cost of living challenges that we have are related to production. And now he moves on now to address how he's going to address the production by fertilizer subsidy. I see that as a management of I know when we came to you were telling us cost of living high. Chakula leo is expensive. And I come back and tell you, I understand. But you know why the food is expensive? It's because of production. I'm going to address production in the future. Is that what the people are telling him in the campaigns, Barack? That they want, is it for both or is it for one or the other?
It's not even that it's what the people were saying. We are not talking about someone who was arriving from Mars or from Venus and therefore diagnosing us, doing a diagnosis of our situation, of our condition, to tell us that this is what ails you and therefore this is what I purpose to do about it. I keep going back to what I said at the beginning. The need for candor, the need for more openness, confronting this monster, calling it by its correct name, and cautioning us that what lies ahead is not paved in comfort, that the track ahead has got a rather difficult patch that we must somehow navigate our way through before we can get to the fresh dawn of hope. Here there is hope in the sense that there are new managers, there are new guards, But we are not yet there just by the very act of arrival. In the sense that, number one, he's trying not to paint a portrait of disaster, Armageddon, that you get there on day one, and you are telling people, forget about all those things that we have been saying. But in an oblique way, they are being said, that notwithstanding. And that hustler community is perhaps not sufficiently sophisticated to read the subtext in this message and to understand that the subsidies are being condemned and they're going to be removed. When you say they have not benefited the people, you say they are costly, you say they lead to cartels, they lead to hoarding, that if we carry on with them for another 9 months, this is where we are going to be. In other words, you are actually beginning to raise the curtain to the removal of those subsidies. It might even be nicer if you went to the length of saying that we will review these subsidies and see whether they can continue to be rationalized, whether they are still relevant, and to explore what other options exist. Because as I was saying, Eric and Ndu, by the end of this year, the cost of 1 liter of super petrol is going to be between 100, 190, 200 Kenya shillings. And when it rises with everything else. The cost of living is going to shoot right through the roof. And Dr. William Ruto is going to take the beating. It will not matter that Uhuru Kenyatta was there for 10 years and that he probably was the author of that mess together with the people around him. The issue is that you are in charge. If you are the mother at home or the father at home and there is no food and you have put some stones in the pot and you have lit fire and there's some water in the pot and you're telling the kids that we are boiling this, after a while they'll be ready for you to eat. Meanwhile, you are soothing them to go to sleep. You had better have a plan that by the time they wake up, there will be some real food in that pot. It is perhaps too soon to expect the incoming regime to have a very clear plan about what needs to be done. We expect, or I would expect as Barack, that a team of experts now is going to be put in place. And these are going to be experts who are capable of radical surgery, experts who are cobbled together not because of cronyism, as we have seen in the past, or because of reward, but people who are going to help to marshal you through the marshes and get the country where it's supposed to go. During the campaign season, I expect that naturally there's been a cocktail of individuals around the presidential candidate at that time with a cocktail of ideas, some of which have just had to be tolerated because we need the numbers, we need these people to come along, and we do not want to ostracize them, to alienate them because they run away with more numbers. Having sailed across the bridge, it's a time for reality check, put in place a team of thinkers who are going to help you, because there isn't any one individual in the whole world who is a repository of the knowledge, of the wisdom, of the skills, of the expertise that are going to take us where we want to go. And so the council around.
So that's what we should be observing.
That is
looking at
what we should be
who
observing.
he puts into his team. Let's take a break. 26 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Live on KTN Home, SpiceFM, online. Dr. Barak Muluka is a strategic communications advisor. We are looking at what to expect from the William Ruto presidency. 25th day of September 2022 is going to be a big day. Barak, the way you're dressed, lovely. On that day, people should dress this way.
Yeah.
Because as they go to the Nairobi race course.
I'm flattered.
You're in good form. Or should I say you're in good fashion?
I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
The Concours d'Elegance, the 50th edition of that, takes place on the 25th of September. It's at the Nairobi Racecourse, and it will be a day where people will come out and have a look at the classics in terms of vehicles and enjoy a day of fashion, such as the way you're dressed today. And it'll be great activities throughout the day and enjoying this 50th edition of the Concours that will take place then.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice.
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me.
Nairobi.
All right, we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 23. We'll see highs of 22 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 16, and it's raining in Nyeri at 14, highs of 20 and lows of 13. It's 16 and cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 21. Raining in Mombasa at 24, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a rainy Malindi at this point as well. Kisumu was cloudy at 21, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 in a cloudy Kakamega at 20. It's also 20 in Kampala. It's partly sunny, highs of 25, and 30 will be the high in a rainy Dar es Salaam at 23. It's now 11 degrees and partly sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly clear Lagos at 23. It's 21 and sunny in Kinshasa. It'll go to highs of 32 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
The question is, what's going on around Westlands and that whole area coming in from Lavington, Naivasha Road, on Gong Road, onto Kingara and Mzima Springs on the other side. Everybody going then towards James Gishuru. Slow traffic. It's moving in that manner this morning. To be expected that it will even out at some point, but it's really crazy if you're heading in that direction or in it right now. Lunga. There's a spillover onto Likoni, also coming in from Jogoro this morning. That's really heavy. Traffic on the Thika Superhighway has been crazy all morning, and it still continues just so. On Kiambu Road, it's an absolute mess. I think congested, constipated is what it's been called until this point, but it's not looking pretty, at least not for now. Limuru Road is also doing the same thing, so we are in traffic hour properly. Right now. We'll just wait and see what happens in about an hour or so. It just means slower movement. Please be careful as you traverse. Let's talk on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
SpiceFM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Spice FM on YouTube and Facebook, on KTN Home and on KTN News as well, the Chivumbi station. Dr. Barak Muluka is our guest this morning. He's here with us to talk about what to expect from the Ruto presidency. Ndu, you had a question before we took a break.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it, because of what you spoke about communication, I think it is extremely important here. But the thing is that what was communicated, I mean, look, we can understand what the reality of the day is. Shouldn't then the period before have been extremely careful about what was communicated to people? Because people are, especially those in a desperate situation, are going to gobble up hope like that. I mean, it's what has sold for religious groups for centuries. So here you are talking to an already depressed people in terms of an economy, and you're making certain promises to them, bearing in mind the possibility of failure, or hopefully bearing in mind the possibility of failure. So should you present your case to people? You've just come off telling them that this is what you are going to do. Faced with the reality of empty coffers, you must then come back to the same people and say, look, guys, this is what we thought we would have done. How do you then communicate that and then essentially break a promise that you made to people? They don't know about these inner workings. They know you made the promise to them. How do you then deal? How should this then be dealt with?
I don't think it is about breaking promises. It's about being able to meet a promise rather than breaking a promise.
Or maybe not intentionally.
There is a clear distinction, and it's not just a game of semantics, no, because the notion of being deliberate is part of it. If you promise me that you're going to give me something which you have, and then you hold back, then you've broken the promise. It's also possible that you may lack the ability to deliver that which you promised. I look at election campaign seasons as no holds barred seasons. Anything and everything goes. It is a season of generation of hope. Government is a season of moderation of hope. There is generation of hope, and then there's moderation of hope. And I sincerely want to believe that the incoming government, while relations between those who have taken over and those who have gone out were not always very juicy, and therefore they did not have the opportunity to be shown around, to have a proper orientation on the eve of taking over, they must have known what was happening there. Regardless, they found it necessary to generate hope. And perhaps the other side, the losing side, generated even more hope than these ones. They were the ones who were talking about free education all the way from the day you are born to the day you die. Through the whole gamut. They would give you free education. They would give you 6,000 shillings every month. They would give you... There were so many things. It was a season of generation of hope. Now, to moderate hope here does not mean to try to run away from the truth. Does not mean to hide your head in the sands. It means to be able to give us this medicine in small little doses.
Yes.
And those doses do not include just flashing the medicine in front of us and putting it away.
But
it must be administered.
Yes.
You must give us that injection,
The question,
that jab in the... Yes,
the thing,
Rick.
Terry, is when do you get the dose? You know, I can keep telling you, come today we are going to, weigh you and see how much you weigh. Go home, come tomorrow, we're going to, check your height. And then the other day we'll do, the entire triage could actually take an entire week. And then prescription, conversation about the prescription for a second entire week. Before I now administer the drug. On the fourth week, all along, what I was doing is I was talking to my supplier and asking, where have you reached? Let a generic bus, If I look at what the president was doing yesterday, I am seeing that moderation of hope. And it's an immediate switch from the generation of hope, like you said. During this entire campaign season, they were able to adequately paint the picture and say, there's a problem, and here is the problem. And the problem was not a problem. The problem was a person, was individuals, was an institution. The current administration is the problem. and those that are leading it are the problem. We are going to come and bring you the solution, and our solution is very simple, this and the other. Now, they become the administration, and they start managing it. And one of the ways of managing it is by just being very suave about it, but hitting at the problem while it was seated right there. Praising the president, but at the same time saying we have inherited empty coffers because this economy was mismanaged. Praising the president, but also saying some of the big programs that were initiated by this government, we are reversing them right here, right now, today. Port of Mombasa operations go back to Mombasa. The man who was in charge of it is seated right there. Praising him, but at the same time saying, you know what, this thing of not appointing judges, we can't do that. I mean, we've got to respect the institutions that we have in place. So I'm appointing those judges today. The man who had not appointed the judges is sitting right there. So he's basically just showing us, I told you here's the problem. I'm dealing with the problem immediately. And those are low-hanging, budget-neutral issues. Take the port of operations to Mombasa. Just take it to Mombasa. Okay, how many people understand what's happened at the port operations? Talk about appointment of judges. It is just there. There's none of these judges has any matter that has actually been taken before the Judicial Service Commission for investigation. None. So appointing them, appoint. We move on. Everything else, come next week. You were complaining about education. Come next week. I will form a task force. You're complaining about the cost of living. You come next week. I will have fertilizer arriving at Mombasa, and it will come to you at 3,000. And that will sort out your cost of living. That's what I see, Dr. Tari. Am I wrong?
Yes, I think you are wrong, Eric. Yeah. Because, first of all, when we talk about this fellow here is the problem. When we look at the administrators and we say they are the problem, we do so both in real terms and in metaphorical terms. That in the notion, if we should allow ourselves to get a little poetic of metonymy, like when we say Washington is the problem, it's not the city of Washington, it's the fellows in Washington and the regime and their plans and whatever else it is that they are doing. But government is also an institution. I've seen newspaper headlines reading Ruto regime. Ruto is actually, as I said, the owner of this tea party. The dance is the man in the arena. He's the one who is going to take the blows and have the bloody nose and all that. But he must have a council. There is no government. As of yesterday, there was no government. There was only the swearing in of the person who is going to be in charge, the chief steward. And from today, I expect to start seeing the institution of government information. And even then it will take a bit of time. He has got to call back Parliament, and they have got to be processed through Parliament and eventually be sworn in. Then we're going to have government. And once we have that government, it begins doing the business of government. There's a sense in which the things we are talking about that happened yesterday could be classified within the docket of decree because they have not been processed through any cabinet session. The business of the government, executive government, constitutionally is processed through the cabinet. And the cabinet is the president, the deputy president, and up to so many cabinet secretaries. And so when we say this afternoon I'm signing this I'm doing, they are executive orders. And I would be wary of a president who was to run the affairs of state in an unbridled issuance of executive orders. I would allow him a bit of latitude in safe spaces where what was left was really just for the president to gazette the 6 judges. It's a low-lying fruit for him. It makes him look good. If the taking of the port to back to Mombasa, the clearance of goods is going to earn him some marks, he could do so. I suspect that still some of those things are going to have to be processed properly through the cabinet.
Sure.
The outgoing government suspended without telling us cabinet for more than 2 years. And in its twilight hours, it recognized that it had to summon some kind of pseudo-cabinet meeting
to rubber stamp.
Even as you say that, then obviously the people around him and those that he's going to use to form this think tank then is extremely important in delivering some of these things. No matter how long you have to wait for the medicine to let you know that it's coming as they work on it. How would his accessibility to these people impact on some of these things? How important then would it be for President Ruto to be accessible, not hidden behind some iron curtain somewhere, but be hands-on, even in as much as we say that it is necessary, obviously, to have his people around him who are going to be working. But to what significance is him being available, seen to all of this?
Don't appoint people you do not wish to reach you. If they are not, you are not going to be accessible to these people for whatever reason, don't appoint them. Even the one who has been your running mate. Sometimes there's this marriage of convenience that we are looking at numbers, and I see that if we want to beat Eric, we've got to bring Ndu on board, but we bring her only in the context of convenience, so that we can cross this bridge. If you really don't think that you can work with me or you could work with me, then let us not even get it started. This is your government. And in the end, it's not just your government. It's the government of the people of Kenya. You're governing on their behalf for them. And therefore, you must have people you are going to work with, people who you sometimes sit one-on-one with. The head of state and government should be in the habit of having full cabinet meetings, should be in the habit of summoning individual cabinet secretaries and their principal secretaries and top teams, and understanding from them certain issues. As I said earlier on, I don't believe that there is any one individual who knows everything. When you get there and you are the head of state and you believe that you know everything, then that is the beginning of the end. You must sit with them, listen to them, then have more expanded sessions and forums with the full cabinet, send out different cabinet secretaries to work together in cabinet committees because of certain overlaps in their areas of performance and operation. And therefore, access is extremely important. If you are not accessible, and I think that the ended regime showed a lot of that, then you are doomed to fail. You can come up with a lot of good things. There's a good highway across from this building out here. There's not so far off a good railway line and many other good things. If your name is Felix Hufabwanyi, you can build a brand new city, call it Yamoussoukro, and tell the people it's now
the capital.
The capital. You can build the biggest basilica in the world, bigger than St. Peter's Cathedral. in the end, what is the functional utility of all this? You must be accessible. Even monarchical regimes have councils. In Uganda, the ones who are telling you you are chivumbi. They had a kingdom. They had kingdoms, and you remember there was the Katachiro. Was it Chatachiro? The Katachiro. Yeah, the councils of elders properly regimented, and these are people you listen to.
Yeah,
you don't listen.
If you don't listen, then
in trouble.
You get off the rails immediately. A lot of work is expected of the president, and he has signaled that he's not going on holiday. There's no honeymooning. He says, I am this afternoon appointing, tomorrow I'll witness the swearing in, I am signaling that I'll be heading to Mombasa to supervise the return of operations of the port to Mombasa and, getting the job done. It's a good signal to send to the people, isn't it? That it shows you that, and the message and the words that he used to say, I am going, and he said it more than once, I am going to be a president for everybody, irrespective of who you voted for. And even going as far as acknowledging that our competitors had robust ideas, and I am willing to look at some of those ideas. Was that a good conciliatory message, and also a message of showing I am here to work?
The ideas are ours, all of us, because they have been floated by a segment of our population. To dismiss them outright would be to exercise unnecessary arrogance. You must be able to pick up good ideas from the other side. And even as you pick them up, some of them will be saying, oh, but that was our idea. If it was your idea, you intended well. And if someone can pick it up and bring it on board and travel with it, it is a good thing.
It's the greatest sign of flattery.
Yes, indeed. For people to do what you've been saying or to imitate you, to copy you, is the greatest indication of flattery or admiration. This president has been on holiday for 4 years. So he has no time for holiday. He's been on holiday for 4 years. All he has done has been to campaign. And now that he's gotten there, in fact, the reason he beat the other guys was that he was always on holiday. Like in volleyball, where you just wait, they serve you. Palm the ball back. From the days of the BBI, taking it through the various stages, the reggae days, to the election campaign days, to where he is. And it's been a beautiful holiday, fully paid by the taxpayer. And midwifed by those who did not want you to be on that holiday, enjoying, occasionally telling you that you should ship out, but telling them I'm staying put. So he has enjoyed 4 years of holiday. Now it is time to put the hand on the plow and to begin working for the country. He must be everybody's president without taking us into another handshake season. I can see that the other side is angling for a handshake. They are saying things like, we are not happy, we do not agree, we will tell our followers what to do next. It is sort of like priming up for action for the unknown. And the pattern is very regular, that after the loss of the election, the final defeat, you go out for a few days, then you stage a grand return, a grand triumphal entry into the New Jerusalem. And as you are doing that, you take 3 hours from the airport to the city through Outer Ring Road, Makongeni, and so on, and expect also that there should be a bit of tear gassing. If it doesn't happen, then you are not very, very happy. And after that, you can generate sufficient tension and hope that it gives birth to a handshake that then creates some space for you. I don't think that's the kind of inclusivity that the country desires.
It's not what the president was even referring to.
It's inclusivity in the sense that in Paponditi, in Kisumu County, they voted for the person they thought they should vote for. It was a legitimate exercise. They pay taxes. They are entitled to development like everybody else. That the people in Kegego village in Kisii may have voted for Raila Odinga, but they have a right to develop
the services from
whoever won.
Daktari, thank you for joining us today. Come again soon. We have 5 years to talk about this administration.
And make sure City Muga is here. You are in this habit of either of you taking off anytime you hear.
You make sure the next time you're coming when all of us are here.
The oracle is in town.
Dr. Barak Munoka is a communications expert. Thank you very much for joining us. It's 9:01. Here's the news.
The 13-member multi-agency task force will be developing strategies to increase revenue collections. Wanga emphasized that the rates at which revenue is collected continue to fluctuate, pointing out that the county had projected to collect 300,000 shillings by year's end, but now claims it can do 1 billion shillings in the same time frame.
Market users charges, offloading charges, transportation of quarry material and fees for impounded articles be and are hereby waived and or suspended with effect from 14th September for a period of 15 days. To give effect to the waiver set out in 1, I have directed the County Executive Committee Member of Finance and Planning to publish the necessary notice. All county revenue officers are hereby instructed to report to the Chief Officer, Finance and Planning on Wednesday, 14th September.
Exiled lawyer Miguna says red alerts issued against him are expected to be lifted today. In a statement on his Twitter page, Miguna disclosed that he had talked to President William Ruto, who had promised to lift a travel ban issued against him. Miguna, who has lived in Canada for 3 years after being deported, says he will have his passport renewed thereafter, inform Kenyans when he will jet back to the country. The Kenya Judges and Magistrates Association, KJMA, has welcomed the decision by President William Ruto to appoint and swear in the 6 judges rejected by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. KJMA President Derek Kuto said the appointment of the 6 judges is a massive step in promoting the institutional independence of the judiciary and JSC. Kuto noted that the president had begun on a positive note in making the judiciary truly independent. Shortly after being sworn in yesterday, Ruto appointed judges Korir Weldon, Muchelule Agri, Odunga, George and Joel Mwaura. He also appointed 2 other judges of the Environment and Land Court.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission. And I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
Fuel prices could hit a historic high after today's monthly review of prices as President William Ruto vowed yesterday to end the subsidy that has kept the prices stable since July. During his inauguration at the Kasarani Stadium, President Ruto hinted that he would do away with the subsidies on fuel and food, arguing that they are a huge burden to the exchequer and often lead to product shortages.
If the subsidy continues to the end of the financial year, it will cost taxpayers 280 billion, equivalent to the entire national government development budget. In addition to being very costly, consumption subsidy interventions are prone to abuse. They distort markets and create uncertainty, including artificial shortages of the very products they seek to subsidize.
Being the 14th day of the month, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is today expected to announce new fuel prices to be in place for the next month. That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
Still heavy in certain parts of the city this morning. We're looking at it heavy coming out of Westlands, that whole area. Looking at Naivasha Road as well as Ngong Road. While losing away some traffic, then getting to that roundabout at the city mortuary rather, and also looking at traffic on Uhuru Highway, really heavy getting into the CBD. It's coming off heavy off the thicker superhighway. That has not let up just yet. Maybe in a half hour or so, we'll take a look at that. Still really heavy coming off Kiambu Road as well as Limu Road, and that whole issue in there. Outer Ring is not too bad this morning. The feeder roads of Manyanja, Kangundo and Juja also not too bad, but just giving off some traffic as you get past that from Juja Road then into the city. Traffic hour still on. Let us know what's going on where you are. Hopefully we can keep things accident free. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is The Situation Room on SpiceFM. We continue our conversation today, barely 24 hours after the inauguration of the fifth administration. President William Ruto is in State House. Rigathi Gachagua should be moving into the current residence of the Deputy President shortly. But the work of the fifth administration has started, with the President already gazetting the appointment of judges. And he is scheduled to witness the swearing in of those judges today at State House, Nairobi. We have a guest in the studio. And before we introduce and welcome this guest, I'm going to give you the day's proverb on behalf of C.T. Muga, who's taken a couple of days off. Evil is as well as good. Both operate to advance the great plan. Evil is as well as good. Both operate to advance the great plan. This is an Egyptian proverb. Eliud Owalo is an economist. He's a policy strategist. He is among the people who've been described in some quarters as those who are in the A-team of the Kenya Kwanza presidential campaign. Joined the William Ruto team a long time ago. The last time you were here, I think you just joined the William Ruto team, and we were asking you, so why Ruto?
Yes.
Because before that, you were a candidate for the Kibra by-election.
Yes.
And then the next thing, you've gone into UDA, and we asked you, hey, boss.
Yes.
You've gone to UDA. No, it wasn't even UDA then, was it? You've gone to Karen.
Yeah.
What's the plan? And here you are today.
Yes.
Beaming, glowing, basking in the glory of a victory. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, A-team. What is A-team? Or is it just a creation of the media?
Well, that's how the media described it. We had many campaign formations, all being coordinated from one center. If the Presidential Campaign Steering Council is the so-called A-team, then I was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that Presidential Campaign Steering Council? What was the job of that team?
The job, the functional mandate of the Presidential Campaign Steering Council was to coordinate the activities of all the campaign units. Starting from the party, we had the Economic Affairs Advisory team, we had the Politburo, just to mention but a few. The communication team, the legal team, So we were expected to coordinate the activities of all those campaign units under one umbrella, and also execute advisory services by way of strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like the think tank.
candidate.
The think tank for the campaign.
Yes.
We could call you that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
This campaign was really pegged on the economy.
Yes, bottom up.
The bottom-up economic model.
Yes.
Looking at all the charters that you signed with the various counties.
Yes.
The promises that were made all hinged on the economy uplifting the lives of very many Kenyans.
Yes.
Now, it's at the point of delivering.
Implementation.
And implementation of this.
Yes, yes.
What we want to discuss with you today is how you prioritize all those promises that you made.
Yes.
So let's start with, what is the process that you have used in actually coming up with a priority list, if you do have a priority list?
Yes.
And then you'll tell us about the list.
Well, first of all, before even I talk about prioritization, let me just in a nutshell give you the rationale for our bottom-up economic model. Historically, since independence, our economic development agenda has basically been pegged on the trickle-down economic model, where it is assumed that once you have economic growth, then there will be a trickle-down effect to the lowest level by way of development and resources to the common mwananchi. But the challenge we have been having is that as much as we have economic growth, whether it is 5%, 7%, as the figures have always postulated, that increase in economic growth or the national wealth ends up in the hands of a few people, to the extent that 84% of Kenyans are actually hustlers. The middle class constitute about another 10%. Then you have about 5% controlling the resources of the economy. So we said, look, in order for us to grow the economy and have equitable distribution of wealth, there's need for a change in paradigm. And that's why we went for the bottom up. That instead of deciding what is good for the people by way of planning, let us go to the people themselves and ask them what their priorities are, informed by comparative advantages in their regions. So we had perhaps one of the most extensive consultative processes ever witnessed in this country since independence, collecting views of stakeholder segments along the value chains all over the country in all the 47 counties, and we also engaged the diaspora as our 48th country. That then culminated into our campaign blueprint, the national campaign blueprint, on the basis of which our presidential campaign was pegged. And as a means of actualizing this, we went a step further and signed, the presidential candidate then, who is now the president, signed charters with each and every county, committing ourselves by way of service delivery based on the promises that we made
to the
counties. That is where we are now. So now we are at the stage of implementation. How then do we implement? Now, if I take you back a little bit, you remember that our campaign platform was pegged on 4 fundamental thematic areas. One was agriculture. We envisage that if we put money into agriculture, then we are drastically not just going to be able to reduce the cost of living, but we are also by extension going to create jobs for the millions of youth who are jobless. That is one thematic area. The next thematic area is small and medium enterprises. Through the Hustler Fund that we plan to roll out, we envisage that we will be able to facilitate access to credit for majority of the people who are involved in small and medium enterprises. And if we do that, we are 1, going to create jobs, 2, going to reduce the dependency ratio, 3, enhance the disposable income of the people, bring more people into the income, into the tax bracket, and by way of that, the net result with that will be able to even reduce the level of taxation. The third thematic area was housing. Housing basically is supposed to augment the first two by means of creating jobs. We envisage that we can be doing an estimated 250,000 low-cost housing per year. If we do that, it sounds too good to be true, I know. If we do that, we will, one, be able to create jobs for the youth by way of provision of labor. Two, we will be able to create market for the products of the Juakali industry. Okay? Then the next thematic area is universal healthcare, where we want to restructure and re-engineer health services by restructuring the NHIF so that we can make healthcare accessible to all. Those three thematic areas are augmented, of course, by ICT and, of course, the creative industry as well. Now, against that background, how then do we implement our agenda? We can't do everything overnight because we are also looking at a situation where we have got limited resources. So how do you prioritize? We will go for the quick wins. These are areas which have got high impact and, of course, matched also by the needs of the ordinary consumer. The first thing that we need to do is reduce the cost of living.
Yes.
And the easiest way of reducing the cost of living is to reduce the cost of farm inputs in agriculture. Yeah? The cost of living is a function of the cost of inputs that go into the production processes. So if we reduce the cost of inputs, the net result is that the price of the produce, the end product, is actually going to be low. Yeah, it's going to be drastically reduced. So what have we done? As at yesterday, the president has already made a pronouncement on the cost of fertilizer, where the cost of a 50 bag of fertilizer has been drastically reduced from 6,500 per bag to 3,500 per bag. As we move towards the long range, we will also be seeing what can be done with respect to seedlings and other farm inputs. The net effect of this move is that farmers are going actually to, there's going to be a remarkable reduction in the cost of production. The end result then will be the lowering through the market forces of demand and supply. What are we doing? We are basically enhancing the supply of foodstuffs. If we then leave the market forces to play out and match supply and demand, with an expanded supply of the food of the farm produce, the cost of food is going to go down. Naturally, through market forces.
This is assuming that all other factors are
all factors, ceteris paribus.
Like we can see the continuing drought situation in the country.
Yes.
Now, I mean, you need rainfall.
Yes.
To support food production.
Yeah.
You need accessibility to markets.
Yeah.
So that then this food can move from the farm to the market.
Yes.
So is just this one peel.
Yeah.
Of lowering the cost of fertilizer, and even let's even go further to the cost of seed. Without addressing all these other issues, is it really going to have that impact?
Well, it's one of the interventions. You know, these things, it's actually a chain. You don't do these things in a vacuum. You also look at the policy framework. Some of them will require policy interventions. Once cabinet is in place, some of those policy pronouncements will be made. Yeah. So it is a whole chain. It cannot be done in a vacuum. It has to be there has to be a policy framework that is aligned to some of these interventions. So it is not just a one-off. Yeah.
Okay. Some of the things that then would obviously cause uncomfortability, Eliud, as I'm sure you can understand, is that you have a huge mass of people who are asking the question of when.
Yes.
You know, some of the things that you've described, obviously make sense.
Yes.
How do you then bridge the gap between the reality on the ground and the hungry expectations of people who have a today problem? Because obviously, application of market forces, application of natural environment and things like that weigh heavily on what the outcome will be.
Yes.
And it means time.
Yes.
But then people looking for a solution today.
You see,
what would be the answer to them?
You see, whatever interventions we are making have to be interventions which have got impact in a sustainable manner.
Sure.
Okay? We don't want to make populist interventions, which will have short-term impact but are yet not sustainable. Yeah, so we are looking at solutions which are sustainable in the long run, both in the short run and also sustainably in the long run. So we may need to be patient a bit. It cannot be done overnight. Some of these things cannot be done overnight, but we have already made a step in the right direction in respect to that. And by the time now, in another 3 months, when we have the current harvest, the cost of foodstuffs we shall have drastically gone down. And mark you, food constitutes 54% of expenditure from our disposable income. The moment you reduce the price of food, you are basically freeing resources to be utilized in other aspects of life, clothing, shelter, and so on and so forth. So it is our first horizon by way of intervention.
What will it take for us to realize the reduction in the price of fertilizer? When it comes down from 6,000 to 3,000,
yes,
is the government paying that 3,000 extra, or where is the government getting the cheaper fertilizer?
You see, what happens is that the government is going to put in some money, sort of a stabilization fund. I don't want to call it a subsidy. We get money and then stabilize by way of meeting part of the cost of the fertilizer and passing on that to the farmer by way of lower prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long is it sustainable for?
We are getting fertilizer here next week. At 3,000.
How many planting cycles can this be sustained? If you do it in the first planting cycle, let's say that comes at the end of this year with the short rains, can you have it again in the long rains of March, April next year? You have it again in other cycles next year?
You see what's happening, if you allow me, there are major interventions which will have a spiral effect in all sectors of the economy to drastically reduce these prices. If you allow me, let me just explain what our short-term interventions are, and you'll be able to see the linkage across all the sectors. Once we have addressed the issue of food by way of those specific interventions into agriculture, the next thing that we need to do is to stabilize the budget. How do you stabilize the budget? Rationalize expenditure. Okay?
Yeah.
Remove money from capital intensive expenditure with long-term returns and put money into productive sectors of the economy. And these are the value chains that we identified during our bottom-up economic models.
Okay.
That will actually empower the producer. The moment the producer is empowered, we are going to get more people coming into the productive sector of the economy. Prices are drastically going to come down. We are going to widen the tax base by extension, and if we widen the tax base, the inflationary levels will also drastically go down. So, as a long-term measure, naturally, even the prices of fertilizer and even foodstuff will sustainably go down in the long run. Now, having looked at rationalization of expenditure, we need also to look at the revenue side. What we have been doing over the past few years, 5 years or so, is that we are relying on our domestically generated revenue, that is the taxes, to finance both recurrent and development expenditure.
Yes.
Why did we get into this situation? We got into this situation because there was no goodwill from our international partners. And it stems all the way from leadership. We need to win back the confidence of the donors so that we are not just fully utilizing relying on domestic resources to finance both recurrent and development expenditure. That will be another major injection into the economy that will have a reduction in the levels of price level or even in inflation level once we have got capital.
What does that mean in English? That if we do not only rely on domestic, we also rely on external.
Yes.
Is that borrowing more?
No, we are not borrowing.
Is that grants?
No, we have grants. We have donors. If you remember what happened during Kibaki's time, we had a lot of donor goodwill and we actually got a lot of grants, which came by way of direct capital injection to the market. These are actually grants, not loans. Actually, if anything, we are running away from borrowing from foreign markets. If we are to borrow, we will borrow from the local market, which I will explain shortly. Okay. Now, the third thing that we need to do is look at our fiscal and monetary policies as a matter of stabilizing that budget. Now, On the fiscal side, we need to look at taxation. How do we address the issue of taxation? Enhance the tax base by bringing more people into the tax bracket. Once you bring more people into the tax bracket, we will naturally be able to reduce the taxation levels to get the same level of revenue.
True.
Okay? Look at some of our monetary policies. There was a pronouncement yesterday which was made by His Excellency the President that one, for example, we need to make the money market more user-friendly. Like the issue, the statutory requirement that you must declare the source of 1 million shekels, just one of them. We will look at monetary policies in totality so that we have got economic-friendly monetary policies. And a process has already been initiated with the central bank just to get to understand what can be done to strengthen our monetary framework. Now, once the budget line is sorted out, we move to the next level now of creating jobs. How do you create jobs? One, through agriculture, which I've explained, reduce the cost of inputs, give more money to farmers, let the agricultural sector generate jobs. Two, housing, which is one of our thematic areas again. We are targeting 250,000 houses per year. This will create jobs. It will also create opportunities for the ready market for the Juakali sector to sell their produce.
Who's building the houses?
The houses will be built by the private sector. It's not really the government spending money. So we are not looking for money to put into what? Put into housing as government. Because then the next thing you are going to ask me, where is this money coming from?
Sure.
We have got surplus funds in the hands of pension schemes, which cannot be offloaded into the market by way of securities like treasury bills and bonds. We want to create, as government, Kenya Kwanza government, we will create an enabling environment. Ours is to organize the market, so that there is an enabling framework, environment to enable those with surplus funds, not just the pension schemes alone, but even international investors who have got surplus funds, to bring money to invest in low-cost housing. Once there's investment in low-cost housing, we will also ensure that there is ready market for the low-cost housing. Now, through this, one of the major interventions that we are going to have, or major results, is that we can have affordable housing by way of mortgage. We arrange at institutional level so that middle income group can get access to loans for housing and perhaps pay average of 10,000 to 15,000 shillings per month. That again will have a major impact in the economy.
Eliud, this has been put into practice by the outgoing administration for the last 4 years. There was even the establishment of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Corporation. They talk about working with the private sector so that this can happen. What, in your opinion, worked and what did not work, and what's going to make yours work?
One, leadership. There has to be the will to implement some of this. Because there are radical shifts from the norm. And whenever you are introducing radical shifts from the norm, there's always resistance to change, including people in government themselves. So you really need to have a transformation leadership to see this through.
Okay. But
our problem has been leadership.
The private sector has said that as long as you have not addressed the cost of the most expensive point or part of bringing down the cost of housing, which is land, then we're not talking anything. If land remains as expensive as it is, if the inputs, which include cement, continue to be so high, there's no way a developer will bring a house price down to $1 million bob for 2 or 3 bedroom.
That is why we are talking about an enabling environment as government. When you are talking about enabling environment as government, you are looking at many things. On the fiscal policy side, you are looking at duties that is paid by way of importation. That will have a net effect in the cost of inputs. You are also looking at several other factors. Policies. Things like tax rebates and so on and so forth. It's a whole chain of activities that need to be put in place. But the real role of government is not to compete with the private sector in business, but to create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive.
To thrive.
Yeah.
Okay. So am I hearing you say that the infrastructure that is needed to deliver on some of these things is already set? or that even with the development of the infrastructure for these things that we are speaking about, lowering taxes eventually as a result of widening the tax base, talking about implementation of low-cost housing and things like this, basically piggybacking on the private sector, which already exists, are we saying that infrastructure already exists, and what you are now injecting is the will of the leadership to actually get it done?
Not quite. To implement some of these policies, you also need structures in place. The president was just sworn in yesterday. The next thing that we need to think about is the structures. We need to align structures to strategy. We need to think of the implementation framework. What structures do we need to put in place? How do we implement our Hustler Fund, for example? Those type of things. So we are thinking of the next thing, which we have been discussing behind the scenes, is the structures for implementation. And then we will move to the next level of the people.
You want to tell me up to this point, as you were campaigning, you hadn't thought about the structures?
No, we know already what we want to do, what structures we need to have to put in place to implement.
Was it wise to put a 100-day cap on these things and say that in 100 days certain things would happen, knowing the very difficult economic situation that the country is currently in?
But
some things have already been said would be done within 100 days. Was it wise to do that?
There's no problem.
Then with these mitigating factors in place?
I want to look at those promises that we made to deliver in 100 days. Cut down the cost of living. There is a tick. It's work in progress. I've already explained what we are doing by way of reducing the cost of farm inputs. That naturally, if then we subsequently leave the market forces of supply and demand, and we have widened the supply side, that will lead to reduction in the cost of living. So there is a tick. Which other the other commitments that we made? Appointment of high court judges.
Done.
That is done. Gazetted. There is a tick. Returning port operations to Mombasa. Done. That is a tick. Act on corruption. Now, how do you act on corruption? You act on corruption by strengthening the institutions that are charged with the functional mandate of ensuring that there is zero tolerance to corruption, and also depoliticizing those institutions. What has the president done? One, he has said that we are going to actually ensure financial autonomy of the National Police Service Commission, so that it is not subservient to the whims of the office of the president.
What does that mean, really?
You see, they have been relying on funding from the office of the president. They don't have their own resources to execute them. So when you make the Inspector General of Police an AIE holder, that means that they have got their own resources to be able to execute their mandate. They will be directly funded from the exchequer. This is what it means. So the DCI will also have its own its own money. Okay, it will also have its own budget. They don't need to rely on the office of the president, and run the risk, of political interference in their operations. So that is work in progress. Okay, the other thing is other independent institutions. What the president has said is that we will ensure that other independent institutions charged with the mandate of ensuring zero tolerance to corruption, like the EACC, the Auditor General, they are adequately funded to a level commensurate with their functional responsibility, so that we strengthen those institutions and they discharge their work accordingly. The problem we have been having is that there's a lot of interference by the executive in the work of the independent commissions. That will be a thing of the past.
Really?
Yes.
Let's take a break. On
Absolutely.
That note,
yes.
We believe you.
Yes.
We're asking.
Take that to the bank. And you call me again sometime.
27 minutes to 10. Eliud Owalo is the UDA Deputy Secretary General in charge of policy and strategy. He's also among the team that has been at the helm of the William Ruto presidential campaign, thinking about what needs to be done, strategizing and coordinating all the various campaign teams. He's here to tell us what we should expect from the Ruto administration in the first 100 days after yesterday. We're already counting. The clock is ticking. He's already done one or two things. How many other things do we need to hope to see him doing in the next 99 days? Showmax has County 49, which is one of a beautiful show, local production on Showmax. It's about the county called Botella County.
Botella
County. Has a governor, Governor went into office. Governor did what governors do. Then governor faced court action. The court did what courts do. Governor is out of office. Now we have a deputy governor who was left and was sworn into office. The deputy governor is trying to do the best that she can. But the people,
united.
The people have said, you know what, you, all of you,
please,
come on, please. You are all answerable. So they've taken action, and they've taken the deputy governor.
Literally taken.
Yeah. And they're demanding answers. We'll tell you more about that. But no, the best way to actually know more about that is by subscribing to Showmax and go and watch.
Absolutely. For just 760 shillings per month, you can have access to know the intrigues of Botele County, County 49, and know exactly what's going on there. And who knows? Apply some in real life.
Taking a break. We'll be back shortly. Michael Cheng says Salimia Waziri Eliud Walo.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table? They beat us like Burkenge.
Sugar and spice. What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Quality time and acts of service. Words of affirmation tutapata hata kanisani.
We do this
11 to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. DJ Absolute and
Yolanda Mulwa
on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, we're still looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 15. Partly sunny conditions at 18 in Nakuru, highs of 22. 20 will be the high in a rainy Nyeri at 16, and it's 18 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 21. Light rain at 26 in Mombasa, highs of 29 and lows of 22. And we're looking at rainy conditions in Malindi as well at 27, going to highs of 28. 27 will be the high in Kisumu, where it's cloudy at 22. And we'll see highs of 26 and a cloudy Kakamega at 23. We're looking at partly sunny conditions out in Kampala at 20, highs of 26, and 30 will be the high in a rainy Dar es Salaam at 27. 13 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 9, and it's mostly sunny at 24 in Lagos. It'll go to highs of 30. 32 will be the high in Kinshasa, where it's mostly cloudy at 23. Looking at early evening Beijing, it's 31 and sunny. We'll see that as the high, coming down to lows of 18. Rain and floods in Paris at 19, highs of 26, and highs of 22 in a rainy London at 15. It's clear New York still Tuesday night, coming into Wednesday, highs of 27 and lows of 16.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, still in traffic hour by the look of things on the roads this morning. Still pretty heavy as you're coming off the Thika Superhighway. Looking a little bit better on Gong Road. But what's coming off of Kiambu Road and what's coming off Limuru Road today, even at this hour, still pretty heavy. Ring Road Westlands, State House Road, looking into Kileleshwa, Lavington, Oloitoktok, Nzima Springs, and then out towards James Gishuru, which is looking a little bit better now. Still some traffic needed to contend with. All right, through the morning, keep talking to us about what you see. We should be all right and not too far from now. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
23 minutes to 10. We continue our conversation with Eliud
Mornings
Walo,
done right.
UDA Party's Deputy Secretary General in charge of policy and strategy. One of the people in William Ruto's think tank through the campaigns and into the new administration, telling us what we should expect from the Ruto administration in the first 100 days. You've told us a number of things, sounding very good.
Yes.
Agriculture, the fertilizer subsidy that was announced by the president yesterday. Yeah. Talking about going forward into establishment of the Hustler Fund,
yes,
into the operationalization of the Judiciary Fund and adding budgets into it.
Yes.
Housing and what will need to be done. Both of them sound like medium to long term
yes,
effect.
Yes.
One of the things that people observed
yeah,
was that even though even the deputy president said we are inheriting a government that is in doldrums and almost saying that, we found empty coffers when we went to the National Treasury, the president did not talk about the high cost of running government and what austerity measures he is going to institute in making sure that the government is not as costly as it is right now. It's gobbling up, 3 trillion shillings and only giving us 200 billion shillings in development?
Yeah, what we are going to do is to commission a job evaluation study and workload analysis study, perhaps most probably under the auspices of the Salaries Review Commission, so that we evaluate the jobs. We first of all do a functional analysis, look at the jobs which are there in place against the functions that need to be performed. Now there are 2 fundamental outputs we'll get out of that exercise. You remember one of the challenges we are facing today is staff demotivation in the civil service, which we said we are going to fix, starting with even the low morale of the security officers. Now, once you undertake a job evaluation exercise, we will end up with benchmarking the salaries and benefit levels with prevailing market rates. That is one. That will be a step forward towards enhancing the motivation levels of staff. We will also be looking at this optimal staffing complement that we require to be able to implement our To implement our agenda. Whenever you talk about staff rationalization, people misconstrue it.
To mean that
they think that you want to send people home. No. It simply means that where you have more, you can either reassign, reallocate, or release. Where you have less, you bring in more. But you are looking at the optimal staffing complement. You are seeking to determine the optimal staffing complement that you need to drive your to drive your agenda or to implement your agenda. So that process will go on. Very soon we are going to embark on that job evaluation exercise.
But the SRC has done this work before.
They
advised the government, and the government has basically just ignored the advice from the SRC, both national and county governments.
We will look at whatever reports are there. As we speak, there is a new job evaluation exercise which SRC is in the process of initiating. We want that fast-tracked. I'm aware that they are already collecting data from line ministries and even the implementing agencies for purposes of that job evaluation. We will want that fast-tracked. But we are not saying we need to lay off staff. We are only saying that we need to determine the optimal staffing complement that government needs to implement its agenda.
Isn't it curious that there's no mention at all of let's cut back on the excess fat that we have in government, not in terms of staff, but in terms of expenditure?
But that's what I say.
How much you're spending on domestic travel, on foreign travel, how much you're spending on, fueling vehicles, how much you're spending on buying flowers and bandazis and tea and newspaper and cakes. That is a lot of money. There are people who have actually even done the math and they find 300 billion shillings in a financial year just going into things that you can't.
Those are some of the processes that we are going to undertake as a means of stabilizing our budget. You remember I did say that we need to rationalize expenditure. By way of rationalizing expenditure, what do? Look at the core business of government, and ensure that money in government money, public expenditure only goes towards the core business as opposed to non-core business, which is not essential. So those are actually activities which are non-core. Activities which are non-core will be actually targets for what? Targets for cost cutting. That is definite.
Okay. Coming back and then looking at the numbers of some of these things, there was the manifesto, of course, looking at a really economy-heavy approach to many of the things that we hope to be implemented. Of course, the questions, and I know you alluded to that before, so the question really is that where is this money going to come from? From where you sit right now, looking at the time or hope through which then funds will start to trickle back into the economy. What are some of those activities that you would say these are sure rubber-stamped ways in which you will start to see this come alive again?
1, put money into agriculture. 2, create jobs. Once you do those 2, you enhance the level of people's disposable income. This leads to increase in savings and investments. Once you have got increased savings and investments, you have got a wider tax base. Okay, then you generate more money from the domestic market. We actually want to move away from foreign borrowing, so that even if we have to borrow, we borrow from the local market.
So
it's as simple as that.
You crowd us out of the market.
Come again?
We've been complaining about the government crowding the small business people out of the market by government coming into borrowing the domestic market. You want to continue the same? By government borrowing in the domestic market, then financial institutions prefer to lend to the government than they would prefer to lend to a small hawker.
No, this will be augmented by prudent monetary policies. Okay, you cannot. It's not a standalone. Yeah, it will be augmented by prudent monetary policies that ensure that our interest rate for the individual borrowers is also maintained at manageable levels. There's also the bank rate. Once the bank rate is fixed, by extension, the lending rate by the commercial banks will also be sorted out. Yeah.
I want to ask about the Hustler Fund.
Yes,
the president has committed to it.
Yeah, 50 billion.
And he even said yesterday, we are going to establish the Hustler Fund as soon as possible.
Yes.
Is this a third fund? We have Uwezo Fund, we have the Youth Fund. Are we now getting a third fund?
This definitely.
Or is it a consolidation of the other two?
No, it's not a consolidation of the other two. This is a standalone fund, and we are actually even looking at it having a special purpose vehicle for purposes of implementation. We don't want to mix it with the other two. What this fund really intends to do is to put money, make money available to the small businesses, small and medium enterprises, so that they are able to finance business and trade. It is actually a special fund. It's not going to be mixed or augmented or amalgamated with the Women Fund or the Youth Enterprise Fund. Those funds which have been in existence, we really need just to look at how effective and efficient they can be. The Hustler Fund is a fund that we really want to roll down to the masses at the bottom of the pyramid. And even if I can discuss with you a bit about the implementation framework,
yes, please.
We will ensure that one, around the polling station, just the way we vote along the polling station, around the polling stations, we are going to identify the potentials of perhaps the youth and the women who need to be supported. Before we give them the money, we are going to have special units within each constituency that is going to train them on entrepreneurial skills, basic business planning skills, and so on, so that we prepare them for prudent management of the of the resources. One of the negative effects we have been having with the other funds is that the return rate has been low, repayment rate has been low, because most of those monies are disbursed even without people being, the beneficiaries being facilitated with the necessary skills.
Okay.
Now, we are also going to have support, continuous support, monitoring for purposes of monitoring and evaluation of the progress of the business enterprises that these people. So there will be a government machinery doing that. So this is basically a special fund. It will have its own infrastructure down to the polling station level. It's not a question of people coming to Nairobi to apply for this fund. It will be done at the grassroots. We will have officers there to administer that fund, so that we have got the impact and the results that we envisage to achieve.
And the fund is not free money, it's a loan.
It is a loan.
Or is it grants?
No, it is a loan repayable at reasonable rates. Below the prevailing market rates.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, again, this is another one of those issues that will wait for other things to happen so that it then can come about. It is dependent on other monies coming into the economy, as you said.
No.
So
we are
leads
not
me to the
looking.
question is that where does this pool come from?
Where is
the 50 billion coming from is the question.
The money is available. It's a question of restructuring our priorities. There's a lot of money in this economy and in this country, only that our priorities are not right. We are basically just going to restructure our priorities and move money away from capital-intensive expenditure with long-term return rates and pump this money into productive sources of the economy.
Eliud, if I may ask you, what are some examples of these capital-intensive, non-priority projects from which then some of these funds would be removed from?
Look at, for example, the
expressway.
The expressway, look at the railway.
The expressway is complete.
It's finished. You can't take anything from that one now, can you?
No. I'm not saying. I'm just giving you examples of capital projects. Look at some of the projects which the Nairobi Metropolitan Services has been spending money on, the cabros all over. Is that a priority? Those are not priorities, okay? So it's a question of setting our priorities right. We have got enough money to be, so long as we restructure and re-engineer what our priorities are.
The current, I think, ongoing capital-intensive projects are, completion of several.
Yeah.
Completion of dams.
Yeah.
The Wake Dam, for instance.
Yeah.
Completion of road and infrastructure projects that have already started.
Yeah.
Are we saying that we
those will
freeze?
those will be completed if they are essential. They will definitely be completed. But there are several capital projects which are created for purposes of siphoning out money from the public coffers. This is what we are going to target, and by way of immediate interventions, those projects will be stopped. Yeah.
On healthcare.
Yes.
You said
universal healthcare.
Yeah.
Yep.
Restructuring NHIF.
Yeah.
NHIF was restructured with a new law in place.
Yes.
What further restructuring is needed here?
Let me talk about, use the word re-engineering.
Re-engineering.
Yes.
NHIF.
When I talk about re-engineering, it starts all the way from the contributions of individuals. I pay 500 shillings per month.
Yes.
The president pays 1,500 shillings contribution per month.
Yeah.
We want to re-engineer the contribution structure, architecture, so that those who are able to pay more are able to contribute more towards NHIF. Okay? So it depends so that it is aligned, effectively aligned to ability to do what? To pay.
Contribute.
If we do that, we are able to get more money from the higher income bracket, put it into the fund, make sure that the governance framework of the fund itself is strengthened, because one of the challenges that we have been having with NHIF is poor governance. We need to put in place proper systems, policies, and operational procedures, ensure that the fund is well managed through a sound corporate governance framework. And by way of this, once we have adequate resources in the fund, we should be able to roll out universal healthcare to everybody. Yeah.
Will it, if I think the conversation you'll have with the people is if you're saying that I pay more because I earn more, do I get higher benefits?
Oh, yes, it depends. Yeah, of course, definitely you get higher benefits because we will have different levels. We'll have different levels of health benefits. Yeah.
Then the other thing that he spoke about is 600
But what
billion
we are saying
shillings
before we
funding
get
bills.
out of that,
Yes.
we want the ordinary mwananchi to be able to get bare minimum health service.
No matter where you go.
Yeah.
Because is that the thing? No matter where you go, that
No
if
matter which
you are-
facility.
no matter which facility you are at, so that you don't have everybody traipsing to the referral hospital in Nairobi.
Yes.
That if you are in Homa Bay,
Yes.
if you are in
Yes.
Garissa County,
And we will
if
work-
you will
Yes.
be able to walk into the facility
down
you
there.
present your card,
yes,
you get
and those
treatment.
facilities, have to be well equipped, and we'll work in partnership with the county governments in this because we are not going to interfere with management of the counties, but because of that complementary relationship that is envisaged in the constitution, we will work with them to ensure that the health facilities are well equipped. We are also one of the major interventions we envisage to introduce in the health sector is an information management system. So that at the press of a button, you are able to get the medical history of every patient from wherever that person is. That is a major intervention. We want to also strengthen the supply of medical. We want to enhance the supply of medical medicines. Both for the national government and the hospitals in the counties. And streamline that, because that has been another major loophole. You are aware of what the recent instance we had with KEMSA during COVID. We must strengthen the medical supplies procurement framework and streamline it so that it is not susceptible to infiltration by cartels, who are actually benefiting at the expense of the common mwananchi.
Pending bills.
Yes.
600 billion shillings
and we'll sort
of
it out.
pending bills.
Yes.
This is how many times the Hustler Fund?
3, 4,
10.
30, 50. I mean,
it's... How are you going to sort out 600 billion shillings that is owed to people who have actually supplied government and the government has not paid them?
and these are people who've been owed this money for years.
We can sort out this by way of securities. Turn those bills into securities in the market, the stock market, for example. Give them securities by way of paper securities, or turn them into bills. It doesn't mean that we must have cash. We will look at those bills, those which we can pay immediately, we will be able to pay based on the available resources if they were already budgeted for. Okay? But if there are some which were not budgeted for, we will explore the opportunity of the option of turning those bills into securities to be absorbed in the domestic market.
Okay, is there an understanding? And because I often say, in order to solve a problem, you must have an understanding of why it was there in the first place. Is there an understanding of why these bills were not paid?
You see,
before and it's across the country.
This is a historical problem, and this is why it's actually a product of weak governance framework. You see, what happens, and this is what the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act postulates or articulates, is that you cannot procure unless you have the resources. So, in a good working system, what you need to do is that, one, confirm that you have the resources together with an attendant cost center. Go ahead, procure. Lock up the funds by the way of an LPO. So that once the service is procured, the service is delivered, then you have got the funds to do what? To pay. But historically, what has been happening, we are moving away from a background where we are coming from a background where some of the services in government were procured even when there was no funding for it. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So this was in breach
in
of
breach
the law.
Actually in breach of the law.
Okay. Is there action that's going to be taken? The officers who are responsible for this.
We will look at that. If there is a deliberate, it is actually determined there has been some collusion between officers in government, whether national or county government, then we have got agencies, which are responsible for discharging. We will not interfere with the functional mandates of those agencies, but we will empower and strengthen them so that they can execute their mandate without interference from the executive.
But you get a feeling, though, Eliud, that there's no way that somebody just sat there and thought, let's build a road.
Yes.
And they don't have a budget for it. And then they tell Eliud, you come, we're giving you an LP, you go build a road. And there's no money at all that is spent.
Diversion of funds.
So, this diversion of funds, by the time it gets to 600 billion shillings, where are the weaknesses?
Diversion.
Is it in the Office of the Controller of Budget? Is it in the Auditor General's office? Because we've got these oversight offices. The Controller of Budget and the Auditor General.
It is not in the weaknesses of these independent institutions that are supposed to audit what is going on within government. They have actually been churning out heaps and heaps of reports, articulating the inefficiencies and deficiencies in government with respect to the corporate governance framework and how public funds have been siphoned out, and actually giving recommendations on what needs to be done. Our problem is implementation. Even the investigating, the anti-corruption agencies, they are coming up with reports, but there is no goodwill from the top. We must get the correct leadership at the top to fix some of the problems that we have.
Is President William Ruto, willing?
He's a change agent.
To actually sacrifice some of his friends?
Oh, yes.
Because definitely, Eliud, when you're talking about 600 billion shillings, this is not the ordinary Eric Latif who has stolen this money. This is somebody who is well-heeled and well-connected.
Yes.
Some of those people are very close to the top in Kenya Kwanza.
Let me tell you something about Ruto. Based on my experience in dealing with him. One, Ruto is very honest. He will not tell you something that he will not deliver. And if he says something and commits to something, he will ensure that it's delivered. Now, he has got a passion of service delivery to the common mwananchi. If anybody is going to stand on his way in the course of that service delivery, believe you me, that person is going to get out of the way. That I can tell you for free, and you can take it to the bank.
Okay. I know the clock
He's
is running down.
actually the agent of the transformational leadership that this country has been craving for.
Okay. Education is a big thing. Education gets the bulk gets a bulk of the national budget, yearly budget that we're looking at. But then there seems to be, hiccups here and there. A new curriculum is about 5 years old now. And then we heard as well that there will be public participation as to how this will be worked out. Are we really going to see a repealing of this curriculum? Are we going to look for a middle ground really, or are we just saying that there will be public participation by the interested parties and stakeholders, but we're going to move on with things as they currently are?
One of the critical success factors in any change process is effective stakeholder engagement. You need to map out and bring all the integral stakeholders on board from the very beginning so that they walk with you the journey and then own the final output so that implementation becomes easier. I'm afraid to say that in the course of this CBC, there was no effective stakeholder engagement. And in that vein, the president has already said that we are going to have an educational task force to look at some of these issues, CBC just being one of them, the shortage of teachers being another one, there is the issue of the school feeding program, and so on. There are actually a myriad of challenges in the education sector. Yeah.
Eliud, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes.
It's a short 1 hour, so we want to have you coming again and again and again to explain to people what exactly we should expect to be seeing from the new administration, and also coming in and telling us, you see this one? The president said, it's done.
Yes.
This one, in the next 2 days, you will see it's done. Or this is the effect of what was done 4 weeks ago.
We made promises. The Kenya Kwanza government will be held accountable by way of results. At the end of the activity period, we want to be judged based on the promises that we made, based on very, very clear expected outputs and output indicators. And when we get back to the people again to seek a fresh mandate, we will want to be evaluated and let Kenyans make that decision at that point in time based on performance. But from where we sit, we are ready and gearing up for service delivery to the people.
And
we are equal to the task.
Very good. Eliud Owalo is an economist. He's the UDA's Deputy Secretary General for Policy and Strategy, one of those people in the think tank of the William Ruto presidential campaign, and of course now the William Ruto presidency. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was indeed my pleasure.
Thank you.
Listen, have a good day. Listen, we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Listen, enjoy the rest of your listening. It's 10 a.m. See you tomorrow.
Spice up